shocked. You heard about the 15-year-old shot in New York. Philadelphia, 3 teenage boys last month opened fire near a high school. In L.A., a teen allegedly shot and killed a rapper during a robbery with help from his father. What is happening?
We have a breakdown of the family here that is really scary. You know, just this weekend, 9 juveniles were shot in Chicago. 51 people shot in one weekend in Chicago. This is an epidemic of proportions that this nation has never seen. We have zero accountability for parents. And until that stops, you're not going to see these trends back down. I mean, that's the sad thing about it. You look, and I sit in board meetings, and I work with these children all the time. But folks never want to talk about holding their parents accountable for their own children. And so these kids are going around terrorizing the neighborhoods and communities across America. And so this is an issue that starts at home. The vast majority of these children are fatherless.
Want to get it off your chest? You're in the right place. They accuse this show of being run by boobs. Well, let me tell you something about us boobs. We're real and we're spectacular. Want politics and fun, sprinkled with a lot of laughs? Heard in every state in the Union and 770 cities around the world. We just finished our 14th year in broadcast excellence. Now, in our 15th year, the Dave Weinbaum Show is streaming live all over the world. Our country is in big trouble. The most obvious problem is the border. We don't know yet what the ramifications of 5 to 8 million illegal aliens being escorted into the United States by the Biden administration, but the purpose seems to be that in partnership with the Mexican cartels, China, and other enemies of America, we are being successfully invaded by 48 to 90 foreign countries. Many criminals, many sick, who after they enter America are flown off to other parts of the USA. The effect will be known someday, but not today. I want to talk about the destruction of black families via, thank you, honey, for that. We're on, right, yes. Via absentee fathers, defunding police, and woke schools. Blacks entered this country by slavery, mainly sponsored by Democrats. Men were utilized as breeders and not held responsible for fathering and disciplining their offspring. That was left to the slave owners and mothers. When Lincoln freed the slaves, almost 700,000 Americans died either defending the right to have slaves or the ones trying to stop slavery. Lincoln's Republicans defeated the slave lovers, and now, 100 years into the 1960s, we came to see street corners be the only discipline blacks had. Dems, like now, figured out a way to screw up by bribing moms to have even more babies without holding dads responsible, thus destroying the family structure, black culture, to the extent that even the churches had little to no effect. I had the opportunity to discuss this with Clarence Thomas in the May of 1993, just after he had been accepted as a Supreme Court justice at his office in the Supreme Court. He faced the problems of having a missing father, but was fortunate enough to have a tough, disciplining grandfather to teach him. He didn't get away with nothing, he told me. And this taught him the difference between right and wrong. And the conclusion is, without fathers, without church stepping up to be responsible for their kids, black-on-black crime will only get worse. And it's going to spread over, as it has, to the suburbs, fancy shopping centers. The Dems have been abandoned by the have abandoned the blacks for the illegal aliens. And trust me, they'll ruin them too. The goal of a Republican should be to fight for blacks, to hold males responsible for the crimes of their children, get them to church, and stop paying moms by the government to have more babies without a man being responsible. Blacks are being robbed of the American dream. We must demand fathers be held responsible for their kids, and then and only then can blacks as a whole reach the American dream, and by that raise the expectation of us achieving that same dream for us all. Hi there, welcome to the Dave Weinbaum Show. My name is Dave Weinbaum. I'm here with my lovely bride, Lisa Ann Weinbaum, better known as the Law, and producer, J.P. Maxwell. Hi, J.P.
Good morning, everybody.
And we have Rick Henderson. I'm waving with all my fingers, Rick. He's the other guy on the show, the other producer, and he does all the clips and all that stuff. We got a great show for you today. And
good morning.
Good morning, honey. I'm sorry. Did something go wrong with the wardrobe today, or what? Is this a farm girl deal?
I can't find my glasses.
What? Well, you're wearing some.
Yeah, but they're not working so well.
Huh?
They're not working so well. They're old, and I can't really see that
well.
well.
I'd give you mine, but then I couldn't see.
And it's hurting my eyes. No,
really?
I can't see out of yours. Yeah.
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 Well, I'm sorry. So I guess that explains the outfit. What's with the farmer's outfit today? You're wearing overalls. Ow! I'm sorry.
Maybe you
I'm
should
sorry.
get
Don't do
back
that.
to your show and not worry about my clothes.
I think I hurt myself when I took that water downstairs yesterday. It was terrible. I think the elevator was stuck.
Wait a minute. What water?
The
You mean that big thing of water?
Yeah.
The one I carried down yesterday?
You carried it. What are you talking about? Oh, you had to tell everybody, didn't you?
Now the picture becomes much clearer.
I think I got a hernia anyways carrying it into the house.
I actually confronted him last night. I said, you carried that all the way down.
All right, let's do basketball. I lost my nuts.
I just
damn. We gotta go straight to the basketball now. I think my nuts just dropped. Oh my God. Oh man, that hurt.
So he's trying to take credit for my work.
Correct. That is correct.
Well, okay. I thought I didn't realize that you'd rat on me like that. You know, I mean,
I was having trouble believing that happened.
Yeah, really.
And don't let anybody else wear my headphones.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're stretched out for a very big man.
Check it down. Get the princess a pair of glasses that will glue onto her head. All right, and get her an extra.
It does hurt.
Get her an extra microphone so we can utilize some of it to somebody else. And what a coincidence! Thank God we got the rabbi is now up there, and we can play a song.
Yeah, 1 second, Dave. You were talking to another rabbi? It sounds like you're cheating on me.
No, actually, I'm cheating with you on him because he was the first rabbi. Listen to this. I got rabbis fighting over me. This is kind of weird. Second most powerful person in Israel now that Netanyahu is back. He bakes challah bread for Passover and for what do you mean Passover? Passover and for the Sabbath. Future rabbi to the Trump Third Temple Hotel, Golf Course, Casino, and Spa. Please welcome all the way from Efrat, Israel, Rabbi Moshe Rothchild. Hello, Rabbi.
Hi, Dave. We don't make challah for Passover. We make matzah.
Okay, that's right. All right. I knew that. I just wanted to see if you were on your toes, like you usually are. So all right, enough.
Bad.
Would you shut her mic down? This is getting aggravating. Until Tuesday morning, Google defined Jew as a bargain with someone in misery or a petty way, associating with old stereotypes of Jewish people trading and money lendings, and also Netflix portrays a Jewish criminal, Madoff, with horns. What century are we living in, anyways?
Well, it's this all just the floodgates opening up. And you forgot to mention, Whoopi Goldberg doubling down on her.
Well, there's so many, Yeah.
It's like that, the dam breaking and trying to plug every single hole, and at some point that flow is just going to be just impossible to stop. And that's I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing, the flow just increasing every week. So another comment or another incident or another comic or another, what happened in Nazi Germany didn't happen overnight.
Right.
It took it, almost, and half a decade. And, it's just part of this overall terribly frightening trend. And, and who knows where it's all going.
Well, why didn't Jews say more in the, in the upcoming, really they had ideas of what was going to happen probably in the mid-1920s,
right,
of stuff starting to happen. I think it was somebody that talked about it, and that was Einstein.
Right.
Recognized it, and he moved out.
Yeah, and he
quickly.
moved out. As generally speaking, Jews, over the centuries had no recourse, and they couldn't really do anything. An American Jewry feels in a certain way safe because of the great success of the Jewish community and involvement in politics and so on and so forth. You had a Jew, Joe Lieberman, who was a heartbeat away from the vice presidency, and
no, he was a heartbeat away from the presidency. Wasn't he the vice president?
No, he
wasn't.
He wasn't. He didn't make. He ran with Al Gore.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
But and Jews feel very safe in America, as they did in Germany, and but at the end of the day, we are 1 or 2% of the population of the United States,
right.
and it's
well, how many Jews are there? About 16 million, roughly,
in the world.
In the world, yeah. About 8 million in Israel. Roughly?
Yeah, about, the population of Israel is 9 million. About 7.5 million are Jews.
Yeah.
So it's this whole trend. What's going on is really it's just.
Well, here's some maybe good news. Ye is missing. Kanye is missing.
What? I didn't hear that.
No, he's missing, and he's I think he's avoiding being served on a lawsuit. But rumors are that he's actually moved to Israel for Aliyah, because he is, after all, a real Jew. Okay, so maybe you can put him in the IDF and see what he does.
Yeah. Good idea.
It's true. I mean, he's missing. All right.
Yeah.
I didn't know it.
Keep undercover.
So we got a new government now, and Lapid, who was in the previous government, he threatens Netanyahu to that they'll come back if Bibi fails, because they did a great job, and there was no handshake. What's up with that?
Well, you know, like it's the same as America. The left wing is so open-minded. They're so loving and caring and liberal, except for those who don't agree with them. So,
well, yeah, that's pretty normal.
So they become like very hostile, and then they don't, they don't want to play nicely, and it's all about democracy and this and that.
Sure.
And the other thing, well, they're not elected, and so we have that here in Israel with the left wing, and Lapid is, there's no sportsmanship that he lost in a Democrat. It's a fair election, and he got slaughtered, and he behaves as if he's a majority. And it's very childish.
Sounds very familiar to the United States. If a Democrat loses in this country, it had to be cheating. In this country, if they are cheating and they win, it's tough luck for the other person. You can't be I mean, it's just two different standards. Israel's ambassador to France resigns in protest to Netanyahu, so I suppose you won't be eating any more of that fancy French bread.
Yeah, they would have appointed me, but I don't speak French, so.
Now I'm not going to ask you for a Ben and Jerry scoop of the day, because I think I've got one. I think I've got one on my own. This just came to me last night. I think the Minister of Strategic Affairs, don't tell me, it's going to be Ron Dermer. Right? Do you think I'm right?
I'm not sure.
I am, because I read it last night.
Well, I tell you, I mean, I spoke to my friend who works with Ron.
Yeah.
Ron is working in the private sector now.
Not anymore, apparently. That was listed in, I think it was the Jerusalem Post.
He had been working in the private sector, and I asked my friend about it, and he wasn't sure Ron was going to accept it, but okay. Did he officially accept it, or you read that it's been offered to him?
Well, I think that was the implication was that was it, that he was the guy. Yeah. So I think he has already accepted it. Although I could be wrong about that, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good scoop of the day. You got any scoops for me? No.
Not really. No.
Okay. So
scoopless.
So you're scoopless. All right. So the IDF Israel. This came out from the IDF that Israel has bombed Iran dozens of times in 2022. Do you know about that?
Let me just sort of explain a little bit of background. In the Middle East here, and specifically like in countries like Iran and Syria, they always talk big and they don't ever deliver. And when they get hit, they don't discuss it because they are trying to, again, to seem bigger than they are and stronger than they are. So they know they can't retaliate against Israel, and they know if Israel strikes them, they have to just take it. So they don't want to admit these things publicly. So when Israel strikes Syria or any of our neighbors, including Iran, which isn't a direct neighbor, you rarely hear it because Israel doesn't talk about it, and Iran is certainly not going to talk about it because it makes them look weak. So that's generally what happens here, unless there's a full-scale war. But these attacks that we see, these preventative attacks, are almost never make the news.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's plausible. So other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find you and contribute?
They can go to our website, IsraelAlliance.org, or Facebook.com/Israel Alliance.
Now you know all these airline stories out of the U.S. You fly a lot, and Southwest is hugely culpable as a people that have had cancellation after cancellation. People still can't get their luggage. In another story, Southwest seems to be the biggest contributor and biggest customer to selling on eBay. What could that be from? Okay, Rabbi, thank you so much.
Flying.
What's that?
Speaking of flying, I booked flights. I'll be coming to the States in February, so
all right.
We'll see if I'll be in your area, but I'll let you know.
You might be in the new house.
How's that? You're not in yet?
Hell no.
Oh, I thought they said in the summer, didn't they? Oh, they meant the summer of 2023.
Well, we're looking for the we're looking for it to be in the same decade. Let's put it that way. We still don't have a front door.
We have one.
It's not on.
It's not on.
It's not
we
on.
Have one.
We only have an open. I tell you what, you're going to be staying at the house with everyone else because all we'll have is an open house.
I do have really bad news for you though.
What?
They don't have a door that fits your golf cart opening.
What? Okay, the deal's off. That's it. No more house. No.
I'm sorry.
No. This is. I put up with a lot.
I didn't find out until this week.
I am.
They
not
don't make them that size.
I'm not putting it up with that. That's a standard golf cart. Oh God, Rabbi, I'm so ticked off now. How will I go on? All right. Anyways, Shabbat Shalom, my friend. How do you eat the kids?
Take care. All the best, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. All right.
Bye.
All right. That was the rabbi. What do you mean they can't? What are you talking about? They can't, are you serious?
There's a 7-foot opening. They don't make 7-foot garage doors. Yes, I'm serious.
Well, how did that get screwed up?
Don't look at me.
Who's in charge of this project? I'm sorry.
They're working on it.
You can't blame me for anything because I haven't done anything.
Well, there you go.
Well, that's the point.
I can blame you for not doing anything.
No. That was the deal. You were going to be in charge of this project. I will answer occasional questions. I will make it there occasionally, but I'm not running the show, baby. It's you.
Thank you for that, dear.
Anytime. Ow. That didn't tickle at all. Okay, I think we got to take our first break. Coming up on the show, we just had the rabbi. We got J.J. Bradshaw coming on next. We have Chris Adamo, and we have the McCloskeys, Mark and Patricia McCloskey, the bravest people in America, along with several others. But this will be interesting. And Chris Adamo he's really heartened by the fact that General Mike Flynn has used a lot of his book, what is it? Strategy of defeating
Rules
liberals?
for defeating radicals.
Rules for defeating radicals. That's coming up. Hold it up by there. Thank you so much, JP. You ought to get that book. It's very interesting, and he's dead right on it. But we need a lot of discussion on what we ought to be doing. What should we think about the Republicans giving out votes for this omnibus, thus discrediting their victory in the House till September? What is up with that? What's wrong with these people? All right. So we're going to take a commercial break right now. Commercial break. We're going to have lots of great people here, and I have some news about our ratings. I think I found out some information about us, at least from Facebook, and it's good news. All right. So let's go and spend money with my sponsors.
Honey, what are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
It looks like you're filling up a swimming pool.
Yep, I'm filling up a swimming pool.
In our living room?
How else am I going to watch the game and stay cool?
If your AC is on the fritz, call Hartley's Climate Control. Hartley's is the area's best in HVAC repairs, installs, and maintenance. Knowledgeable, honest, and dependable. Serving Rolla and the surrounding areas for commercial or residential needs. Hartley's Climate Control. Community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Kent's Jewelry does custom engravings for almost anything. Awards, signs, guns, swords, mugs, yetis, and knives. Kent is the premier custom jeweler in mid-Missouri. We have a great staff, the technology, and equipment to create what you dream for, jewelry and engraving. Kent's Jewelry, 907 North Pine, downtown Rolla, 573-364-1030. That's 573-364-1030. Locally owned. Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about Koi Sushi and Hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy. But also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping, too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day. Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our number one goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
At your locally owned Price Chopper, our standards are high because we know yours are. See for yourself what an incredible fresh selection of grocery items we have in store. Talk to our expert meat associates about what you're looking for. They're happy to meet any special requests like custom cuts, or see our expert produce associates on how to pick out the best fruits and vegetables. Quality in the deli means fresh, full flavor, and always delicious. If you're craving fresh baked goodness, we have that too. You can expect the best selection and the best value while interacting with our friendly and knowledgeable employees. You can find what you're looking for fast and easily at the best prices at Price Chopper. Fresh savings every day. A-Car Real Estate, where experience matters. 532 million sold since 2003, the number one sales volume in Phelps County. As a client for decades, I can say they are the best in mid-Missouri. Call 573-368-7355. That's 573-368-7355 for the best real estate experience you'll ever have.
Maybe it's for a kitchen you've always wanted. Maybe it's just to have a little extra room. Whatever the reason you're considering a new home loan, it's good to know that Town & Country Bank will guide you in the right direction. Our experienced local lenders are here to help you with a new home construction, remodeling projects, and fixed and adjustable rate home loans. You can even start the process online by clicking Online Mortgage Center at tcbanks.com. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Okay, welcome back to the Dave Weinbaum Show. We're just talking about various things, and my wife informed me.
Probably a good thing our mics were muted at that point.
Yeah, please. She informed me of bad news. She can't see because her glasses aren't the ones she's supposed to have on. Why do you have those glasses if they don't work?
Because something's better than nothing.
Is it the look thing, or because you're not seeing? And
it's the vision.
You're complaining about having a headache now, and I don't think I'm the cause this time.
Yeah, or adding to it, that's for sure.
Oh, I'm adding to it, okay. And it's my fault because she left a piece of paper at home because of her glasses. All the time. It's my fault. It's his fault. It's his fault. When are you going to take responsibility?
I'm letting you do that.
Oh, that's wrong. That's not my function. I'm the old guy that you're supposed to take care of forever.
I'm taking very good care of you.
Yeah, well, you're aggravating me. All right, let's see what's on the board here. Then we'll talk. Hi, good morning. It's Shannon Reed. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
Good to see you. Thanks for all the support. And she's laughing her ass off. I don't know why exactly.
I think that was during our thing with the water bottle, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Is that it, the water bottle? Yeah, you sure set me up for that one, I'll tell you what. Lorraine Pinkneva, top of the morning, you all.
Hi,
yes, and you too, Lorraine. Thanks for being on the show. And, wait a minute. You got the John Jeffrey Bradshaw here. John Jeffrey's coming on in a couple minutes. It's always good to hear what the rabbi has to say. Can he come to Pastor Pat's church this February? I think that's probably on the agenda, although I didn't ask him. But I'm pretty sure he's going to be going to where he started his career as this amazing guy who links Jews, Christians, Muslims, blacks, all in one little group.
You forgot to ask him if he was guiding Cheryl Chumley on her tour.
Yes, I did. Yes, and so did you. Thank you so much. Cheryl Chumley, we think, is in Israel.
No, we know it.
I've seen a lot of photos from her, a lot of cool posts.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's going to the same places we
Yeah, she's had about 10 different posts that she's been to different places. It's been pretty cool.
Well, the rabbi, he's incognito right now because he's into the Sabbath ceremony in Israel. For those of you in Branson, yes, it's a different time slot, and it's 5 hours later there than it is now. So he's got to do his Sabbath thing. And I don't know why I always say he makes challah bread for Passover. Yeah,
yes.
That's so stupid. And I've done it a couple times. It just goes to say you can't fix stupid, right?
He shook his head and all that, dude.
Yeah. I had to cover myself and just say, well, I'm just trying to see if you were aware of it again. That's getting old now, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I got to find out some other excuse. It just ain't working. All right, let's do...
So we also have Pam Tanner saying good morning to everyone here.
Hi, Pam.
Pam.
Pastor Pat, I sure hope he does, JJ, referring to hopefully Moshe coming to the church in February if he's going to come to Missouri. So.
Okay.
Hi, Pastor Pat.
Well, I think that was part of the deal, it seems to me. And like I say, we might be in the new house. So we'll see what happens. Maybe you can do a tour of the house for the church, honey. Oh, God. Nothing? I didn't say anything. Did I say something? No.
Don't bother me.
All right, so don't bother you? Okay.
Don't bother me.
All right. I think, we haven't done this in a while. Do the basketball. All right? Let's do basketball. It's a funny bit. Hit it.
I noticed, I read where you scored about 20 points a game.
That's right.
That's amazing. How can you possibly score 20 points a game?
Basically, most of my points are scored from the foul line. John, what I do is I wait until the other team gets the ball. Right. Then I just run down to the other end. Then I set up my position like this. Right. And then they just run into me, bang, like this. then pretty much.
Well, that's intriguing. Right. But do you ever actually get to handle the ball during the game?
I do. Once in a while, they'll get it to me. I'm pretty doggone good the ball handler. You know, I'm short, but once they get it to me, I got it on it's hard.
Oh, that's amazing. Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Well, I guess... I would imagine. I guess at your height, you actually see a different game than the other players.
Johnny, at my height, I not only see a different game, I smell a different game.
That's good. All right. Okay. What was I going to say? Oh, let's play clip 17 just to put an end to the gentleman who's talking, by the way, about the black situation in the hoods. Generally, and all over the country, it's not restricted to any one particular place anymore. Is Jack Brewer, who used to be an NFL player, who's a black man, and he's working very hard on fixing this problem. I don't see a lot of that. I have my own little stories about that. When I was playing football, and I went to a school that had, a lot of blacks in it, sure had more blacks than Jews, I'll tell you that, but it was a good mixture of the population. And, we all got to know each other, and we had our little fights, we had our fun times, and that's that and the other. And generally, they went home to their homes, and we went to our homes. Although I do remember having some people over at the house, and I don't think I was ever invited into a black home. I would have gone, I'm sure. But even so, some of these kids apparently did not have fathers. And several of them were football players. And one of them I know, and another one, I didn't know him well, but I did wrestle with his brother, who became a state champion, by the way, because he figured out how to take short Jewish guys and put a cradle move on them without them ever being able to bend over. He had the longest arms and the tightest grip I ever saw, and it was impossible to get out of it. Once he had you, you were done. He was a number one in the state, and as was his older brother. And him and a guy named Emery Moorhead, who went on to play for the Chicago Bears as a tight end and was one of the greatest tight ends ever, who won a Super Bowl in 1985. I heard the stories about him being fatherless, and Coach Lazier going up to him in the hall, Coach Lazier being a white guy, and grabbing him and putting him up against the lockers and telling him, you either get into that class and do good, or you're not playing for this team anymore. And he did. And I know he loved and respected Coach Lazier, and the school didn't like it. How dare he do that? And eventually, not much longer than a year or two later, he was sort of kicked out. The winningest coach in the history of Illinois football. And the only reason that I was even led on a team, much less play first string at the end of my last half of my last season, nobody would have tolerated that. Even some of the coaches that were there thought that was a stupid move. But you know, when you beat everybody, you got to do something. You can't just let somebody beat everybody and everybody know it. But in terms of the black kids, he didn't put up with any crap. And in some cases, that saved their lives. And that's what, in fact, I went into one of the reunions, the last reunion, about 3 or 4 years ago in Evanston, and the coach was there. He was like on his deathbed practically. He was in his 90s. And I went in amongst several of the black guys. Some I knew, some I didn't. Some were before me, some were after me. And they were talking about, their one's niece just got shot. One's cousin was killed a couple weeks earlier. Young kids, 12 and under. And I said, so this is horrible. What are you guys doing about this? And they looked at me like, we don't know what to do. Well, golly, if there are a bunch of Jews getting killed, I'd try to do something about it. Okay, and here these little kids are out there in the crossfire, getting murdered. So I says, you guys got to go figure this out. This has been happening since the '60s. So they agreed, but I don't think they did anything. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I see our next guest.
We still want to play clip 17 real fast before.
Well, we got JJ on. All right, yeah, go ahead, play 16. We'll cover 17. Go ahead and do that.
Most of them don't have a father at home that'll whoop their butt. They go to school. They don't have any discipline. I mean, I've had kids in my program get caught with drugs at school, weed at school, fighting at school. They don't even suspend them anymore. It's like this whole woke agenda has just bled through our institutions and into our school system. And now we're paying a grim price because our kids don't have a fear of God. For you to go up in school and think that you can do what you want to do, have no respect for authority, no respect for adults, you don't have a fear of God and a fear of consequences. And so we need to get spirituality back into our children. This secular mentality, those that feel that you need to keep your institution secular, you guys are the problems. You have to have spirituality in a child so that they have a fear of God.
Man, someday you got mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing, we will rock you. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat this morning. This man is 254 years old. Okay, he was in revolutionary times with Lincoln. Lincoln was a little bit ahead of him. Lincoln was a youngster, okay, compared to this guy. But he was with Washington and Jefferson and Ben Franklin, picking up pioneer women in Virginia's Ye Old Bar. Okay, it was actually the only pub in West Virginia, in Virginia. All right, he's got so much knowledge, so much energy, so much intuition based on experience that he usually wears a tinfoil hat. This morning he's willing to take that off just to spare a little bit of that knowledge and experience to us. Please welcome, all the way from Rolla, Missouri, John Jeffrey Bradshaw.
Thank you, Dave.
Hi, JP. Hi, JJ. How you doing? Too many J's around, JP, JJ. Okay, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, Dave, for an old guy. I'm still kicking.
Yeah, we know about that.
Say, just before the intro you did on me, you were talking about the augering in of the black community. Give you a little piece of info about that. This business started with LBJ's Great Society program. And at that time, of course, I lived through that time, and I was kind of critical of it at that time. This was the leftist end of the Democratic Party, the socialist bunch. Frankly, by today's standards, they look like a bunch of conservatives. But they decided that it was important that our federal government provide support for largely the black community, which was struggling at that time. And what you see now is the tree that grew as a result of the planting of those seeds by LBJ and some of his leftist buddies. So if you ever get a chance to stop by his grave, urinate on it, I think that's only fair. But he's the guy that started it. And like I said, those lefts back then probably looked like conservatives now. Makes us look like MAGA.
Well, you're right. The timing is exactly right, because in the 50s, the 40s, 50s, blacks were doing okay. They were together mostly in families. They stayed together. They went to church. They had opportunities. They were still discriminated against, segregated and all that. I'm sure there's still discrimination going on today, but it was always seemingly getting better. And then all of a sudden, LBJ steps in with the civil rights legislation, and they turned into socialists all at one time, it seems, and they started paying mothers to have babies, and the fathers were not part of that. And so they just, had babies, they bred, and they just had a free life. And the babies grew up to be bad, have troubles.
In the 1950s, the welfare was the responsibility of each state and each locality. So the states had some control over that. Some did it better than others. But many of those states expected there to be a father in the family.
Yeah.
As soon as the feds took this thing over, it fell apart.
Well, that's never happened before.
No, we have a long track record in this country of whenever the feds get their hands on something, it turns into a pile of steam.
Yeah, we're the federal government, and we're here to help.
Yes, we're here to help you. Trust me, the check's in the mail.
Yeah, you got that.
Well, that's all I had to say about that. I had not planned on talking about that this morning.
Well, it's a huge problem, as you know. I mean, I can talk about all the things that Biden's done wrong, and I will somewhere in here. But, that's a big deal, and it's a big deal for not just black America. It's a big deal for America because it needs to be fixed. As you know, we're not living in a country now that has these borders. It used to be, this was mostly in black neighborhoods. Now it's all over the country. Doesn't matter.
That's a fine segue into what I was planning on talking about.
Well, let's go there.
I think we must be on some psychic channel together.
I was going to be a psychic, but there's no future in it.
Dave, there's only a few letters between psychic and psychotic.
Yes, I know. You wrote that on my. Yes, thank you.
Our DOJ and our DEA are suing AmerisourceBergen, which is a pharmaceutical company, about suspicious opioid sales. Their sales last year were $238 billion. And DEA is after them for selling to some pharmacies that ultimately sold those opioids in the parking lot behind the pharmacy.
Really?
Okay, it's only fair that you go after companies that are doing bad things. But the DEA and the DOJ are completely ignoring the truckloads of opioids that come across our southern border every single day. Now, you can go after the big guys, the fat cats, and maybe you can get a judicial decision against them. Maybe you can fine them. Maybe you could do a lot of stuff. But what do you say we fix the problem? What do you say we close that southern border and at least have a chance of controlling the opioids that are coming into this country, largely manufactured in China? It amazes me. The DEA administrator currently is a lady named Ann Milgram. And she did a little presser the other day, making a big deal out of this lawsuit against AmerisourceBergen. And nobody in that press corps that was talking with her asked about the southern border.
Yep.
Nobody. That tells me that our press corps is complicit in the Biden administration's open borders policy on our south end.
Well, why do they have an open borders policy? Think about it.
Because they're leftists and Marxists, and they don't want this country to be anything like it used to be.
There's billions of dollars involved. They are partnering with the cartels. They're getting a lot of money. The DNC is getting a lot of money off the cartels for the cartels running this invasion of the United States of America, with all sorts of people coming in we have no idea of, and with all sorts of diseases coming in we have no idea of. And this is strictly, this is a plan. This isn't an accident. All right? This is a plan to take over America. I mean, they don't even care that, we've got so many fentanyl pills in the United States, we have enough to kill the whole population twice over.
We have enough to kill the entire world, Dave.
Exactly. So this is intentional. The way it was fixed. Donald Trump fixed the problem before.
He was well on his way to fixing the problem.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was fixed is a matter of being getting the wall completed and all that. It's never going to be perfect, but it was pretty much fixed, and they took it over, completely reversed it. Why?
Absolutely reversed it. These people were bought cheaply, Dave. It surprises me how little money it takes to buy a politician or a bureaucrat. The very few that have been exposed, they get a few $1 million. In the global economy, that's nothing. That's air. That doesn't count at all. So our politicians and bureaucrats are bought and paid for, in my opinion. Do I have any proof of that? No, but I have an awful lot of observation.
You know, if you look at the last bill that was passed, $1.7 trillion. Just Joe, here's the ironic thing. After this plane scandal, Joe's out there somewhere in the Caribbean, sunning himself in a mansion, and oh wait, I forgot that bill. They take a whole plane, and send it down to his island. Talk about carbon exposure. Oh, my God, just to sign this incredibly hurtful bill. And 18 Republican senators signed off on it and voted for it.
This thing actually passed in the House, 225 to 201.
Yeah. And you had Republicans there, too.
Of course we knew it would. And we knew Biden.
I didn't know that.
The sad thing about this is it does very little for our country. It does a great deal of damage to our country. We went through this last Friday in some detail, but at the minimum, this thing actually supports the military some. They got about 10% more, about equal to what inflation is at this point. So essentially, the military budget is flat. But consider what the military is doing with that budget. We've got an upper end, the upper echelon of our military, LBGTQ, woke, politically appointed generals, morons. Are they going to squander this money? Of course they are.
They couldn't have wait a minute.
Some hardware that might do us some good. Yeah, a small percentage of it, perhaps.
So they would have had a closed government for 2 weeks or a week and a half, or not even that much, and then they could have had the new Congress come in, such as it is, and done the same thing, only cut out some of the pork in the thing. I mean, you got senators, and I understand what they're doing. They have stuff for their constituents that's worth $600 million. How are they going to turn that down? Okay, but let them turn it down after the change is made, okay?
They wouldn't have even had to close the government. They could have done a CR for another couple of weeks and got the new Congress in, and they would have never had to miss a beat.
Yeah, I mean, there was no excuse for them there's no excuse for them to not wait a week or two. He's absolutely correct.
This is serious betrayal to the taxpayers of this country.
Absolutely.
We were sold out by our politicians. Of course, we're sold out all the time by our politicians. If you look up corruption in the dictionary, there's the entire Senate and Congress there in the margin.
Yeah.
A large group picture that shows you what corruption looks like. Dave, over the last week and a half, there's been on the network news every single night, Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines has become a debacle in this country. And let me give you a little background. Southwest was formed by a guy named Herb Kelleher, who's
I remember him. Yeah.
Deceased. And Herb founded his company on the premise that you treat your employees right, you treat your passengers right, and the profits will come.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, employees, passengers. After Herb died, we ended up with a guy named Bob Jordan, who's the current CEO, who is much more interested in profits and much less interested in the proper treatment of his employees and certainly his passengers. Now, Southwest was formed as a different airline because they're a point-to-point airline. Other airlines, in fact, all of them in this country, are a spoke and hub airlines. They have hubs, Hartsfield and Atlanta, for instance.
Yeah.
So a point-to-point airline, if you have bad weather and that plane doesn't make it to its next destination, you just nuked the next two destinations, and your passengers are left there wondering what happened.
Right.
Now, bad weather happens all the time, and airlines cope with it. One of the reasons Southwest had such a terrible time is that they had ramp personnel who called in sick because they didn't have enough cold weather gear. They didn't have enough anti-icing gear on the ground at their terminals. They didn't have an awful lot of stuff. Plus, they've got an outdated computer system that crashed again and again and again because of the volume of reticketing that was going on. And they were in a catch-up mode from minute number one. If you recall, Carl Icahn swallowed up TWA. Their hub was in St. Louis at that time. And I look for that to happen to Southwest, too. They've been seriously weakened. And unless they take some of their profits and put it in a new computer system, get some contracts with the pilots union and the flight attendants union, they're going to fall on their face.
Well, here's another problem, and I agree with you, but it's not. It is their fault, but they had an opportunity to convince Buttigieg, who is the head of transportation for why I don't know, to hire pilots rehire pilots who are 65 and older.
Yes.
To get a bunch of them, and to stop the vax demands on the people that they were firing because they wouldn't take the vaccinations, who were pilots and others,
and
flight attendants, and they deleted the people they needed, and a lot of them didn't show up. It wasn't just the weather; a lot of them just sort of were either on vacation or didn't show up because of the weather.
Well, that's what happens when you become a country that doesn't treat or a company that doesn't treat their employees well. They had a long history of doing right by their pilots, their flight attendants, their ground crews, their ticketing agents. They were known in the business as one of the best airlines, even though they were kind of lean and mean. And look what happens when you get a new management that is mostly interested in profits and not very much interested in their employees.
Right.
This ends up being a maiden's tale of how to take a company and ruin it. And all it took was one big weather event to show up all of that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, Dave, on to something else.
All right.
This is something about competence. Our White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, who meets all the checkoff boxes as far as the socialist Democrats are concerned. She's LBDT, QRSTUV, she's black, she's a woman. And she's in that position because of that. And then don't call me a bigot for saying that. Let me continue. This woman is possibly the least competent White House press secretary that I've seen. If you recall, Kayleigh McEnerney carried a binder with her.
Oh, yeah.
And she knew what was in that binder from A to Z.
Right.
Every now and then she'd open it to get a salient point out of it, but the girl knew what she was doing.
She was brilliant.
And then you take a look at this thing that we've got right now for a White House presser. She opens up the binder and reads the talking points to the press corps. Well, guys, if you're going to do that, why don't we save some time? Let's give a copy of the binder to every one of the press guys and just tell her to go home because she's really not all that competent. This is endemic of the Biden administration. And
well, yeah, I mean, you come to expect that. You come to, if he had a competent press secretary, he would be impeached because she'd have to tell the truth, okay? And so that's not going to, that's not going to happen. And the press does not push her. One guy pushes her, and maybe a couple more, but that's Peter Doocy, okay? Yes. He pushes her. and he asks, solid questions. The other ones are just kissing tuchus.
Well, she has no answers for the pointed questions. Those positions that the Biden administration has taken are indefensible. So all that they can do is deny, lie. And it amazes me that some of the people in our country buy that stuff.
Yeah.
They buy it wholesale. And there are people like you and me that are saying, wait a minute, all we want to see is the facts. We'll make up our own darn minds on this stuff. Quit handing us this pablum and give us some facts. We're thinking individuals. We can come up with the answers on our own.
Yeah, but that's wishing. I mean, it's not going to happen until we get rid of this administration.
Oh, I'm afraid we're going to have to get rid of an awful lot of folks to make that happen.
Well, yes, and I know. I mean, I've got Chris Adamo coming on, the anti-Marxist, and I don't know what his solution is going to be, because we don't seem to be able to have honest elections here.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
That brings me, that propaganda brings me to the Twitter files. Episode 7 of that has just been released. And what's damning about this is that it looks like the government has been in collusion with Twitter, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Messenger, and WhatsApp. It looks like this thing is an awfully lot widespread. Well, that makes sense, because what you're hearing from all these folks is out of the same playbook. They're reading off of the same page. Our government has no business, absolutely none, messing around with our First Amendment rights. You ought to be able to say what you want to say. If it offends somebody, we'll grow a set and get over it. But no, we're handed propaganda, and we are handed less than factual information. Hunter Biden's laptop comes to mind.
Sure.
The presidential election, which allowed Joe Biden to become president of the United States, would probably have a much different ending had the revelations that occurred in Hunter Biden's laptop been allowed to see the light of day.
That in itself, I heard lately that that was up to 50%, that people are saying now, 50% even more, that had they known about this, they would not have voted for Biden. Well over the threshold. Did you hear that too?
No, my comment is, the media spread all the narrative about the January 6th committee and all the stuff that Trump had allegedly done to make this insurrection happen.
Yeah.
Yet the actual stories that the Democrats have done just get completely silenced. People, unless they have their head buried in the sand, you cannot deny that there is a huge discrepancy in what's reported from one side and what's reported on the other. You can't deny it anymore.
Sure.
The trouble is the conservative side of this thing, us folks that are actually vocal patriots, are only heard in a small percentage of what's released in the news.
And we are vilified by anyone from the other side. Vilified. We're not allowed to have our own opinions.
We have very little voice in this thing.
Right.
You'll never see the sorts of things that I've discussed this morning on the network news. Not going to happen. Why? They would consider me a radical.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Okay, if you want to label me as a conservative radical, okay.
Who cares?
I haven't burned anything down lately, but I certainly have an opinion.
At this point, whatever they call you is whatever it is. It doesn't matter. You can't take it seriously. You have to fight back any way you can. You have to put them back. You have to put them back in a position of defense. You can't.
I take whatever they do with a grain of salt, Dave. When they call me a radical, as far as I'm concerned, that's a badge of honor.
Yeah, well, I don't take lightly to it, because then it becomes your disqualification to argue further, and so I don't take much crap. I give it back to them, because I get them on defense, and then I have my way. Because once I get them to say, well, once I say, and they call me a white man or white supremacist, I says, well, that makes you a racist. That makes you a racist pig.
You are,
and you ought to apologize. And some of them actually, well, I'm not racist. I said, how can you say you're not racist? Just call me a white supremacist, and you don't even know what color I am. So you need to apologize. Some of them actually apologize, and then I can have my way with. Then I can have a discussion with them. But I have to take that track where they're calling me this racist instead of denying it, which is stupid. I just tell them, you know what? You just pointed yourself out as a total racist.
Yes, it's an admission. Consider Black Lives Matter, possibly the most bigoted racist group in this United States.
And anti-Semitic.
And they are certainly anti-Semites.
Yeah.
They hate you because you're white.
Yeah.
Well, these are the same people that are screaming for civil rights. They're screaming for civil rights. Well, guess what, Bubba? You already have those civil rights. You've just chosen to ignore them.
Yeah. Well, they have that, and they have the contributions of Major League Baseball, of the NBA, of
the government.
Yeah, and all that. And what do they do with the money? They stole it. They stole it. They didn't put it back in the neighborhoods. They stole the money. Okay? Yes. Candace Owens broke that.
Yeah.
Stole the money. Are they in jail? Hell no. So, all right. Go ahead.
And now you have certain celebrities that contributed to BLM that now say, well, wait a minute, that's not what the funds were supposed to go for. I want my money back.
Yeah. Well, I got my Cardinal tickets back. It was a good time to not have to spend all that money with the Cardinals, quite frankly. And I watch them on TV, I confess, and I watch football. I can't help myself. I have to do that. So what else you got for me, my friend?
Well, you mentioned metrics on your show, that you were going to talk about the show metrics, and I want to hear that.
All right, well, you want me to do that right now?
Or when I get off, doesn't matter. I just want to hear how well we're doing.
All right, well, first of all, for some reason, the last month and a half of shows has grown exponentially. I mean, up 400 or 500%. And we're just pushing it. My lovely bride is pushing it. The shows are good. We're getting scoops from a lot of places. You know, the Arizona audit and things like that. We're just coming together. It seems like. And I found out because somebody hacked into me on Facebook and claimed that I was in trouble, and so they I was looking, and I found out some more statistics, and we're in at least 10 countries. Here are the top 10: Israel, Brazil, Canada, Australia, Nigeria, Africa, the Ivory Coast of Africa, Germany, the Philippines, and Poland. And locally, we're big in Rolla, obviously. St. James, Cuba, Waynesville, Dixon, Steelville, Doolittle, St. Robert, and Columbia. And this doesn't tell us but a small portion of it, because I know from experience, being on those radio shows, that we had tons of Europe. We had like 100 countries at one point, and we had 730 cities all over the world that were listening in. So I'm suspecting, once I get the stats from Amazon and all the places that play the podcasts, I'll get a lot more.
Well, Dave, I'm proud to be a small part of that.
No, you're a big part of it. You know, I'm watching the numbers right now. When you came on, I don't know if you must have your own little fan club going, because that thing jumped up and doubled. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it shows that there are people in this world that have taste bad enough to want to listen to what I have to say.
Or good enough, for that matter. Well, I want to thank you so much, and hi to the wife, Jean, and you have a great weekend, great New Year's, my friend.
Dave, all right? I always enjoy our Friday conversations.
Let's hear it for J.J. Bradshaw. Thanks, J.J. All right, we got any more? Things out of that? Because we got to go pretty soon. We've got another interview. Okay, I thought I saw a few things in there. Maybe not. No, that was except for Dalton. Yeah, Dalton. Good morning. Happy New Year, everyone. Yes, and I forgot to wish everybody Happy New Year. Of course, it's not there yet. But this is kind of the Happy New Year show. So Happy New Year, everybody. You have my permission, as long as you're not driving, to pop open your first bottle to represent, get yourself a little orange juice. And what do they call that? What is it? What's the name of that?
Mimosa.
Mimosa. And pour yourself a little mimosa and listen to the rest of the show.
We had champagne last year with Rick. Remember that?
And, yeah.
And then we have saxophone, too.
Yeah. Do we have what?
Show?
I thought you said sex. I heard that sex.
Yeah, he played the Old Lang Syne, I think, to end the show. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. It was a celebration. We had noisemakers and champagne. Yeah. It was fun.
Well,
Should I go get champagne? I'll leave now.
No, you're not going to leave now. You silly.
I was all for it, but
I was trying to think of whether or not you'd find the elevator with those glasses on.
Oh, you didn't even know.
I don't know what your problem is. Anyways, let's do a little bit of Carlin and Reagan. Let's do Carlin and Reagan. All right.
Do you ever try to tell somebody they have a little bit of dirt on their face? You can never get them to rub the right spot, can you? Say, you got a little bit of dirt right here. They always go, where, here? And you just want to slap the bastard.
There was a fellow that was on his way to a mountain resort, and a policeman stopped him and said, "Did you know that you're driving without taillights?" And the driver hopped out of the car. He was so badly shaken that the officer took pity on him and said, "Well, now, wait a minute, calm down. It's not that serious an infraction." The fellow said, "It may not mean much to you, but to me it means I've lost my trailer, a wife, and 4 kids." Cub reporter whose first solo assignment was interviewing a fellow who was just going to have a birthday that made him the oldest person in town. And he got to the address. It was an older building out in the outskirts of the city, and elderly gentleman ushered him in. He sat down, and the reporter determined he was the man, and he said he was there for the interview, and he led right to the matter about how old are you, and the man said 96. He said, "To what do you attribute your longevity?" And the fellow said, "I don't smoke, drink, or run around with wild women." And at that moment, there was a crash from upstairs. And the reporter looked up, and he said, "What was that?" And the old boy said, "Oh, that's Dad. He's drunk again."
All right, we don't have much time. We can't even do, we got like 3 minutes. It was at, who was that? Was that Adolf?
That was Adolf that called earlier.
All right, well, Adolf, well, I don't know if he's listening or not. It's just a problem.
I don't know if he listens.
I don't know if you're going to call in, you're going to pick your spots, and, my good friend JJ was a little long, but, what the hell? Listen to the show, and you pick your spots. Call the show, 573-578-2700. Get it off your chest. Speaking about getting something off your chest, is that a crumb on his? No, there's not a crumb there. All right, well, let's play his song here, and we'll start him early. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, lifelong conservative. He's author of Rules for Defeating Radicals. You might want to hold that up. He's cited many times in General Mike Flynn's new book. He was the only Italian in Wyoming not on the federal witness protection program. And he's star of TV and podcast and the Dave Weinbaum Show. Please welcome all the way from who the heck knows where he is right now, Chris Adamo. Okay, this is a Marxist paradise we're living in right now, and What the hell are you doing about it?
Well, I'll tell you what. For starters, I'm glad you mentioned General Flynn's book, and you ought to have him on your show. It just came out in the last few weeks. It's called A Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. And I'm going to brag a little bit here. He quotes at length from some portions of my book.
Well, go ahead and give us a clip or so.
What's that?
Can you get a clip in there? Do you have it, like, measured out?
A clip of where he
you.
quotes me?
Yeah, of him citing you.
Well, I'd have to do it. I hadn't prepared for that. I will do that next week or whenever you have me on again,
right.
if you have me on again. But yeah, he actually has the entire appendix of the book. He talks about, and he does a great job. If you want to compare what he's doing to what I'm doing, he's the general, and so he's talking about the overarching strategy of the enemy and how it wages war on us. And then my book has to do with the guy down in the trench, and he's got the bayonet, and there's a guy jumping over the fence. How do you deal with that? Okay,
yeah.
So he ties the two of them together brilliantly, and it's just it was a total honor to be part of that. And this is a very important work that people need to be looking at. He goes into the psyops, the psychological operations of people like the World Economic Forum, the major players on the world stage, and it explains. When you start reading his book, you understand things like what was the whole strategy of the COVID pandemic. And I could go down the list, but like I said, you should get him on there and onto your show and talk to him about it. It's a great book. People need to read it. And then when you want to learn how, now we know who the enemy is and the war they're waging, how do we fight them on an individual basis? And then you can hold up my book there again. And he actually, in the end of his book, he goes through an entire appendix where he talks about what he calls rules for victory. Well, there's your rules for victory right there. Rules for defeating radicals. Who and what are these people, and how do we beat them?
Yeah. And so if you're insulted, if somebody calls you a radical or a racist or a white supremacist, what is your response?
Well, the first thing you don't do, and please, people, listen to this, the first thing you don't do is try and disprove their accusation.
Exactly.
Well,
Why?
Let me show you who all my black friends are so you know that I'm not a racist.
Why do you do that? Why do you do that?
I'm such a loving, normal person, so you don't think I'm an extremist or a right wing. Forget it. Those accusations from the left are proof of their venom, their hatred, the evil that they embrace. You don't try to win their approval on that basis. What you do is you back up and you do a flank attack on them. You show people, here's what we're dealing with as an enemy. Here's why they're going to make these attacks against me, because here's the evil that they're actually promoting, and this is what we need to confront.
Well, don't you attack them and say, look, if you're calling me a racist, you don't know who I am. That kind of makes you a racist.
And you're
or a white supremacist.
You're taking that in the right direction. I don't have to start by proving that I'm not really as bad as you say I am. I don't have to do that.
Yeah, well, that's not proving anything.
Find an excuse to attack.
That's not proving anything.
Right.
That's turning their thrust into me into an offensive thing, which in a lot of times puts them now in the position of defending themselves.
And that's exactly the
Bingo.
strategy that we need.
And
to
I've
embrace.
used that time after time, and it has worked amazingly well. At least they understand they're not going to get away with it from me.
There's one reason why it works is because their agenda, their strategy is founded on lies. And so if you start apologizing or trying to sit the fence and show them you're not really what they're saying, what you're doing is validating the lies. Don't waste your time doing that. Do like you say. You go back and you say, this is why you're proving the evil in your own heart. And so, no, you're a leftist. I don't have to answer to you.
I'd like to know if everybody out there are they feeling guilty when they say that to them? Because it's meant to make you feel guilty. Why do you feel guilty? Why do you have to explain to them why you're not racist? Why you're not a white supremacist? Why do you have to?
I don't want to be at odds with people.
My reaction, well, I'm not human, I guess, because I want to strike back.
Well, you've stepped beyond the boundaries of their strategy, and that's why you're at where you are. But the typical person, boy, you're in a bad mood today. Well, I don't really want to, come. If I said something wrong, I want to fix that. The problem is that we do that to a fault, where we let them define the moral and spiritual boundaries in which we're supposed to operate. And we try to operate there because we all want to get along. We all want to be nice. We're dealing with an enemy. We've got to start by recognizing we're at war. They're attacking us. Their goal is not to make us nice people. Their goal is to destroy us. And until we start by seeing them that way and not trying to, can't we all get along? No, we can't. Which brings me to another subject I'd like to discuss with you. And that's it. I'm about ready to write my next commentary. It's liable to be titled that "'Tis the Season of Ending the Rancor and the Discord and Establishing Unity in the Congress." Because the minute you have a Republican-dominated Congress, that is all you're going to hear. Look at the venom we saw from Nancy Pelosi. Look at the despicable corruption, the partisanship when she created her January 6th witch hunt committee. Look at all that. The minute McCarthy gets in there, they're going to start in on him about, now, look, you don't want to be mean-spirited, and you don't want to be, we've had enough discord in Washington, while all the Democrats are moving ahead with their agenda. So now that you, Mr. Republican, are in charge, you've got to show that you're above that and be Mr. Nice Guy. And you're going to see our side falling for it.
I hope, I'm praying he doesn't fall for it, but I suspect that he might. I mean, they're already falling for it. Look what they did. They signed off on the $1.7 trillion omnibus.
Perfect example.
I mean, they the 18 senators, some of them respectable.
Is Elon on today?
No, he's you're talking about Elon? No. He was caught up in the plane. He took a trip, and he got delayed.
As soon as you have him on, and I'd love to be on at one time with him to discuss this, because he's pushing really hard, and he's absolutely right, pushing real hard for we either straighten out the GOP or it's time to start a new party. And consider this, Dave. Conservatism is in a shambles in the country right now. We've seen the stolen election of 2020. We saw what happened to Kerry Lake, and they're just widespread rampant corruption in Arizona right now to keep the real governor, Kerry Lake, from assuming her position.
Absolutely.
We're seeing all this happen. And what's the chief concern of the entire Republican Party, coast to coast? It's getting Mitch McConnell back in as minority leader. It's getting Ronna McDaniel in as GOP chairman, and it's getting Kevin McCarthy as speaker. And then we wonder why we're losing ground.
And so how do you reward Ronna? By the way, it's Romney McDaniels. And how do you reward them with such a poor performance by letting them keep their jobs?
The party itself, the GOP establishment, has for several decades entrenched itself. I heard a statement years back, and it was one of those things where I'm driving down the road and I hear it on talk radio from a good conservative, and I almost went off the road because it was so wrong. He said, the purpose of a political party is to get its members elected. Yeah. And that is the purpose of a political party in total decay and corruption. The real purpose of a political party has always been for like-minded people to band together and use the strength of numbers to advance a particular set of ideals.
Yeah,
but
to be popular.
Once you do that, and if you have success, then you have these leeches and moles that move into the inner circles, and then they're starting to use this momentum for their own benefit. And that's where the GOP is right now. They could care less what's happening to the country as long as they get their same people in there. Why does Kevin McCarthy deserve to be in? Well, because he's done his time. He deserves to be speaker. Mm-hmm. I even heard good conservatives out there like Mark Levin decrying the people that are trying to keep McCarthy from getting in as speaker.
Well, I've heard
Einstein's definition of insanity, of doing the same thing over and expecting different results. What are we doing putting Kevin McCarthy in as speaker?
Well, it apparently is a pretty much a done deal. I don't see him doing anything else. You got
and the same thing with Ronna McDaniel and Mitch McConnell. Why are these people in there? If you and I had that poor of a job performance, they'd fire us in any other sector of society.
Situation, I'd go broke. You know?
And yet the GOP, it's what they're really looking to do. They're not looking to confront the Democrats and fix the country. That's the crumbs that they throw out at us occasionally. What they're looking to do is preserve their status quo because they got a good thing going. They can sit around and ask for millions of dollars whenever they want. They got all kinds of connections for lobbyists and for cousins and for whoever else. And we're sitting out here watching our country going into the sewer.
I want to play a little something for you. Let me play Barr's interview, clip 1, clip 2. And get your mind on this.
As far as widespread fraud, we haven't seen that since.
Well, we haven't had the kind of widespread use of mail-in ballots that's being proposed. We've had absentee ballots from people who request them from a specific address. Now what we're talking about is mailing them to everyone on the voter list when everyone knows those voter lists are inaccurate. People who should get them don't get them, which is what has been one of the major complaints in states that have tried this in municipal elections. And people who get them are not the right people. They're people who have replaced the previous occupant, and they can make them out. And sometimes multiple ballots come to the same address with a whole several generations of occupants. Do you think that's a way to run a vote?
Well, the only thing I'm saying is that so far we haven't seen widespread fraud. But
so far we haven't tried it. This is playing with fire. This is playing with fire. We're a very closely divided country here. And if people have to have confidence in the results of the election and the legitimacy of the government, and people trying to change the rules to this methodology, which, as a matter of logic, is very open to fraud and coercion, is reckless and dangerous. And the people are playing with fire.
Well, I will point out there are 5 states that only have mail-in voting, including Utah and Colorado, Washington State, Oregon, Hawaii, and they've reported over the years they've had virtually no problems. But who's trying to change the rules right now?
I would say the people who want to go to mass mail-in ballots.
But you understand why. There is a coronavirus pandemic, right. And there are a lot of people potentially, if they waited long lines when they go to the polls, they could get sick, especially older people or people with underlying conditions. As a result, a lot of people want to change the rules so they don't have to go wait in long lines.
Now, do you recognize the people in there? Wolf, Blitzer, and
who's the other one? No,
Bill Barr, Attorney General.
I thought you said that in the intro. Okay,
Bill Barr
and Wolf Blitzer, who's no conservative, and yet, boy, I'll tell you what. In comparison to Bill Barr, he sounds like George Washington.
But Barr, he said the right thing there. I thought he was protesting the way that we have elections.
I'm not sure which one was speaking. Was Barr the one saying that we've seen no widespread fraud?
No,
that was Blitzer.
Okay,
that was Blitzer.
I had it backwards.
Yeah,
well, I'll tell you.
And Barr was. Well, here's the reason I play that is because on December the 1st, after the election, less than a month after the election, Bill Barr was saying there was no cheating.
Okay.
There was no cheating enough to throw the eleton.
He
turned
that's
himself
the reason
around.
I got it backwards there because what I've heard from Barr lately, he just went all in for the system.
Yeah,
and I mean, it was what Blitzer was saying was absolute insanity. And yet Barr is now right in there in bed with him.
And what you don't know about that is, or we didn't know at the time, was that Bill Barr, what is an attorney general's job? Who is he over?
The Department of Justice.
And who's in the Department of Justice?
You mean like the FBI?
Yes. So he's in charge of the FBI. Yeah. And he had to know or be totally incompetent. You take your pick. Either one is bad. That the FBI was telling social media to shut down the Hunter Biden laptop story. Mm-hmm. All right, and he was being helped by 50 intel officers who signed it and said, yes, this is a Russian hoax.
They have
that's throwing the election right. That's throwing the election right there.
Absolutely. They have no excuse whatsoever for making these statements other than that they are corrupt. Now, here's the problem. We know they're corrupt, okay? Our side, and I'm talking about real conservatives. You've heard me say it time and again. The other half of the attack was right after the election, was to absolutely castigate and mock anybody who said that something was less than on the up and up with this election. Something didn't seem right. They shut down this vote count over here because of plumbing problems that didn't happen. They closed the windows on this one, kicked all the Republicans out, and then all of a sudden Biden won all of these. Something's not right here. And the attack from the left was massive, nationwide, and way too coordinated to be just responding to these things on. And so within a week, our side is saying, well, we can't call it an election theft because that they tell us we're extreme if we do that.
No, they tell us we're liars. They called us liars.
Right.
I mean,
so
2 days after the
so
election results, if you believe this is wrong, Brett Baer, a couple of days after the election results are in, if you believe this, you're a liar. If you believe this was a fraud, you're a liar. Well,
and
who
so
knew?
what was our
Who knew?
response? Our response should have been to say, Brett Baer is part of the swamp. I don't care if he's on Fox.
I do say that now. I argue it. I argue it with people on Fox.
Do. We need more Dave Weinbaums. Don't get me wrong. But the standard conservative response was to start using terms like possible voting irregularities. Remember, you've heard me say that before.
Yeah.
Then I hear people say, well, we've got to show respect for the office, and so we've got to be respectful of Biden as president. No. Number one, he's mindless. He's not actually running anything. Number two, he didn't win. If I show respect for that, I'm showing respect not for the office, but for the theft. I'm showing respect for the corruption.
Well, you're showing respect to those who are destroying this country.
Exactly.
Intentionally.
Intentionally. It is 100% intentional.
Yeah.
And I'll tie that into another thing here. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, the arrest of that lunatic Sam Brinton, who had high-level nuclear secrets and stuff that he's working with. And people look at this guy, this absolute outrageous flake.
Is this the guy with the dress?
The guy with the dress, with the bald head, with the high heels and makeup, and he's running around, and he's acting like a drunken high schooler,
right.
And yet this guy has high-level secrets. It's so outrageous that he's in that position. Yes, it's purposely outrageous.
Right.
The idea is that they're telling you we can do anything we want.
Bingo.
We can destroy anything we want in this country. You can't do anything about it. And when our side says we've got to show respect for the office, we're playing along with
respect? What respect? I mean, look, they work for us. We pay them. We elect them. We're supposedly elect them. And we're not supposed to have a say in it. We have a right. It's called the First Amendment right, and I'm going to live and die with that if I need to.
We have a First Amendment that says we can tell the truth, and we have a Bible that says we must tell the truth. And so for me to water things down to try and make my enemy like me is an abomination to both of those things. And to the degree that our side does that, we bear that culpability. That's why, yes, Dave, I appreciate the fact that you speak out so bluntly.
Well, and that's why you're on the show here, because you do the same. And you're like a professor, and I'm like a dumbass student who is trying to learn from the master here. There's a reason you're on the show so often. I would not go
quite to that extent.
There's a reason you're on the show this often. Plus, you're a good-looking man. Look at you.
Oh my gosh! Now he's really stretching.
Wait, somebody sold me some of that champagne, will you? Come on. All right. So I don't know if I have anything else.
Well, I think you covered the main things this week, but here's what to look out for.
All right.
They will be pushing now the left, the venomous, toxic left that has been just steamrolling over America for the last 2 years. Is now going to be pushing really hard for the Republicans to end the rancor, to end the discord, to unify so America can be unified and all warm and fuzzy. And you know what? It's going to be done on the basis of the Republicans going along with the leftist agenda. And that's what you saw with that spending bill this week. That's what to look for going forward. Again, with Elon, he's talked about the fact we either need to do and I'm paraphrasing here, a massive house cleaning in the Republican Party, or we need to recognize that the Republican Party is beyond all hope and it's time to start another party. Now, they'll tell you, you can't do that because if we divide at this point, we're going to lose. What have we been doing for the last several years with a Republican Party? We've been losing by design.
Yeah, and this stuff about Donald Trump, anti-Donald Trump talk, it's like the left has told us that he's bad for so long. Now even the GOP is saying, well, we can't talk about lost elections. That's Donald Trump speaking. He lost that election because of that. He didn't lose.
Think about that. Think about it. They tell you what you can and can't talk about. Just imagine
I'm
going up against the Germans at Normandy, and they said, well, you can't go to that beach right there.
Yeah.
That's not fair. That's mean-spirited. You have to go over here and line up single file while we set up our 50 cows.
It's sort of like what they told the Jews. Hey, we're just sending you to a camp until the war is over, okay?
Yeah.
And they believed it.
And the more that we accept their terms, because what we've got to start out by doing is recognizing who the enemy is. That's why I wrote my book, Chapter 1.
Yeah.
They're consumed with arrogance to the point where it blinds them to all morality, all other means of reason other than amassing power. Okay, once you realize that that's who Democrats are, and that's who leftists are, and that's who rhinos are, once you realize that that's what's going on there, then you have a whole different framework in which to.
Well, it's not only us that has recognized your book. Your book is like in the top 30 of the best books written about Marxism, I think. And
I
also
saw
now
that somewhere, and I'm not sure who wrote that. But by the way, just to let you know, I was on the Larry Elder podcast yesterday.
Oh, I love him. Yeah,
and
he's great.
I think it's coming out tonight, unless they edited me out of it because I was kind of on a rant there. But he's a great guy. He's a wonderful, wonderful person.
I've traded. He writes for the Jewish World Review, where I wrote for 11 years there. And I just decided I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do the column justice or this program justice because now it's 3 hours. You got to really do a lot of prepping for that. So I'm happy about that I'm doing this. But I'll look forward to seeing that. That's great news.
I'll send you the link, and
please
maybe
do.
You can post it.
Please do. All right. You can always go on a podcast, can't you, and find it later.
Yeah.
Sure. Because I'm usually passed out on Friday nights by that time. Wouldn't you agree, honey? Is that where I'm at?
Yes.
I am so passed out.
You are.
I mean, I sleep for like 12 hours.
Delightful company on Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Where's
I come home. Well, I leave here. I get a massage, a deep massage. Oh no, I go to work at McDonald's. I direct traffic in McDonald's, like I did yesterday. And that's always a blast. And then I go get a massage, and then I go home, and that's it. I'm done. I get home about 3:30 or so, and where's my drink?
Rest up, and then get back into the fight because we need you.
Well,
we need all hands on deck.
Yeah, this show is actually, to do it is fun, and actually prepping is fun too. But sometimes after the show, I'm so tired that I wonder if I could do it again. I'm getting old. Okay.
I know that feeling. I used to feel that way every time I'd go to a Republican convention in Wyoming because you go in there as a conservative into a conservative convention and you realize that you are surrounded by rhinos.
Yeah.
Now, let me just add to that the fact that there is a huge movement in Wyoming of conservatives, and they're actually changing the nature of the Republican Party. But are they fighting the dirty tricks and the backstabbing.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, my friend, you have a great New Year's.
Thank you. You as well, and we'll be in touch. I'll send you the link for that podcast, and I'd ask you to
what are you doing?
Reach out to General Flynn and get him on your show too.
I think I've tried that a couple times. I know I know we follow each other on Twitter, or we did at one time. I don't know if one of us got canned or not, but sure, I'd love to have him on.
Okay.
Are you kidding me? All right, thanks a lot, my friend. You have a great weekend, great 4th of July. Gee, where am I? A great New Year's, and have a lot of fun. Hi to your wife.
I will pass that along. God bless you all.
God
Keep
bless.
Fighting the good fight.
Let's hear it for Chris Adamo. Thanks, Chris. All right. Whew. Okay. Well, probably we have to do our next ad. I've got nobody to talk to for the next 40 minutes or so. Maybe we can get Adolf on the phone. And you give me a call, but I got plenty of material. You don't have to worry about material here. But if we had a few guests on, or if you want to contact us either by phone, 573-578-2700, or
also on Facebook, Twitter, and also DaveWeinbaum.net.
All right, let's spend money with my people that support this show, and I'm open to having. I feel very good about the deal that they're getting, and I want to tell you something. This is a big deal because it's a great deal because I keep pushing it after the show. I keep pushing the podcast, and I'm doing a lot of it, both on Twitter and on Facebook. And you know what? Most of our people listening are in this area, so we're perfect for this area to have our sponsors coming from this show. Okay, and it's not like it's just one shot. I'm doing a lot of it, and the commercials are included. I found out the others when it went out to all the other countries and things, they weren't really included. I don't think. So now these are included. Okay, hit it.
With warmer temperatures right around the corner and allergies ramping up, now's the time to get those AC units serviced. At Hartley's, we pride ourselves in offering outstanding service with fast response times. With proper maintenance, you can make those hot days be a lot cooler and remove those pesky allergens that always seem to find their way into your home. Call us today so you can be living a much cooler and healthier life. Hartley's, community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Kent's Jewelry does custom engravings for almost anything. Awards, signs, guns, swords, mugs, yetis, and knives. Kent is the premier custom jeweler in mid-Missouri. We have a great staff, the technology, and equipment to create what you dream for, jewelry and engraving. Kent's Jewelry, 907 North Pine, downtown Rolla, 573-364-1030. That's 573-364-1030. Locally owned. Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about koi sushi and hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy, but also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender, all one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day. Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our number one goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Busy schedule? Let your locally owned Price Chopper help you save time with online shopping. It's easy. Sign up to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app in the App Store or Google Play. Create an account and browse through the categories and choose the items you need. When you place your order, your personal shopper will get all of the items you've selected, taking the same care you would and following your notes. We offer free curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Start your online order today and no online shopping fee for a limited time. Go to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app to get started. Price Chopper. Fresher savings every day. A-Car Real Estate, where experience matters. 532 million sold since 2003, the #1 sales volume in Phelps County. As a client for decades, I can say they are the best in mid-Missouri. Call 573-368-7355. That's 573-368-7355 for the best real estate experience you'll ever have.
At Town & Country Bank, we are committed to providing exceptional service to our customers. We do more than just provide loans for our community. We help make dreams become reality. Whether it's a new home, farm, business, or a new car, we would love the opportunity to help. Stop by one of our 2 Rolla locations and let our friendly lending team remind you how special hometown banking can be. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Okay, hi there. I'm back. I'm back on the show, and we got plenty of stuff to do and plenty of stuff to talk about. If you want to call the show, 573-578-2700, or send a message via
Facebook, Twitter, and also DaveWeinbaum.net.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we're doing really good in terms of the viewership today, and you never know how these holidays will, what they'll mean for people, but we will send them around. Yes, dear? Hi. Can I do something for you? I'm on the show. Oh. What do you think I'm doing? Oh my gosh, we got to set a horn off or something for her. You know, it's just terrible.
Where's my horn?
What horn?
We need one of those like live on air things above the door and stuff that lights up so that.
Yeah, what horn? Is she talking about something? Oh, stop it! It's over there.
Happy New Year!
Oh gosh. Scream into the microphone. This is not good. All right. Okay. Again, we're back on the show. We've got coming on at, about 10:30, we've got Mike and Patricia McCloskey, the bravest people in America, who stood by with one rifle and one little pistol, 2 against 350, a mob that broke down the gate, being led by Cori Bush, one of the squids, all right, in Congress, one of the Marxist squids over there, yelling and screaming, and these people were going to burn their house down, they were going to rape the wife, and they were going to kill them both, and they said that. He is now suing Cori Bush in a court of law, and guess who the lawyer's going to be? Not me. I'm not a lawyer. It's going to be him. He's going to face him personally. So I said, why are you going to be your own lawyer? He says, because I want to be. I want to see their faces when I tear into them.
I would almost pay to be in the courthouse to see that one.
I want to be there myself. Oh, hell yeah. It's incredible that he actually gets to do that. You know, and there was a certain point in my life, well, I never thought I could be a lawyer until like many years later into my adulthood, maybe 30s or 40s, when I started to realize that I kind of understood the law. I kind of understood the logic of it and, the system. And I knew being in court several times, you get certain things. Well, I was through 3 divorces, although the last one didn't go to court. And it didn't go to court because I figured out what to do before letting it get to court, because in court you never know what the hell's gonna happen. The best thing you can do is settle, so at least you have a concept of what's going to happen, because you never know what a judge or a jury is going to do. It's that simple. So Anyway, well, I guess we're not going to play any clips for a while. No, I'm fine. I don't need to do it, but we got plenty of clips, and I wanted to play the last two clips of the Bill Barr, who's I want to get him on the show. I want him to get to answer some of these things, because that'll be interesting, because the guy switched himself. He talked in October of 2020 about how horrible it was to have this kind of voting and how easily cheatable it is, and they did the exact thing. And then within 30 days of that election being so-called over, 3rd of November, December 1st of 2020, he's saying, oh, no, couldn't have been cheated. It couldn't have been cheated enough. Where is that investigation at? Why wasn't there full knowledge of the American people about your FBI shutting down social media about the Hunter Biden laptop, which everybody now knows is a legitimate story? What was your position as the Attorney General in terms of the FBI? What did you know? What didn't you know? If you didn't know, why didn't you? You're in charge of the FBI. You know, where did all these other intel guys come from? You know, how did they say it was a Russian hoax? What did you have to do with that? He went off against Trump. He testified in front of the 1-6 committee against Trump. And I just don't know where this guy is, but he's deep in the swamp somehow. So, and we're not over yet in Arizona, gang. I talked to, might not have anything new this week. I talked to Jeff Zink recently, and he says, I'm not sure that anything's going to really happen until January 3rd. He's going to go in now and testify about certain stuff. And all I can tell you is 2 words, the Brunson brothers, and you could look it up. This could be going to the Supreme Court, because these guys said they knew that Italy came and were involved in the 2020 election, and they were supposed to investigate that 10 days, like from January 6th of 21 through January 16th, to find out if that was a legitimate accusation. And it didn't happen, did it?
No, from what I understand, I guess they had the evidence. This judge agreed with their evidence, sent it to the Congress, including Vice President Pence, saying this needs to be investigated before you certify. And, of course, we all know that didn't happen. So very interesting times right now if all that comes to light.
Well, what you have is the potential for treason being charged. I can't see that happening, though, quite frankly. Can you? And I don't think that – I wonder if the Supreme Court is going to want anything to do with this. All right? But, you always have to keep plugging away. You keep plugging away. You watch a football game, and a guy gains 2 yards. The guy fumbles. Tom Brady, watch him play, okay? And he makes mistakes. He's human. He's 45 and he's human. That makes him almost inhuman, but still, he makes mistakes. But you watch him, and he rallies his team. He's a great leader, okay? He gets his team to play the way he wants them to play, and pretty soon he's like it looks terrible out there until the final 5 minutes of the game. That's where he wins his games. That's where once he gets a hold of the ball, even if he's behind by enough to where one score is going to win it, that's the time to bet on him big time that he's going to do it. And that's the time you'll see his team come together,
That one Super Bowl against the Falcons, they're down by 20-plus points.
Yeah.
And they make that big comeback to win the game.
Well, and I kind of watched – I remember him from the Los Angeles Rams day I thought that was his first Super Bowl win, wasn't it?
That was the St. Louis Rams at that time.
Yeah, St. Louis Rams.
Because I was a St. Louis Rams fan watching that one.
Yeah, I was watching that one with my friend John McCook, who was a good friend of the coach, Dick Vermeil.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'll tell you my little story with Dick Vermeil was that August when they were starting the preseason and all that, I was playing in a golf tournament in St. Louis for the Ronald McDonald Children's Charities, and there was a lot of hockey players and coaches and things like that. Whitey Herzog was there, and so was Dick Vermeil, and I didn't know Dick Vermeil from anybody, but here I was at my car, getting out of the back my shoes to change to go in to have dinner. I'm by myself, and suddenly this guy who I recognized as Dick Vermeil comes up to me. He starts talking to me. He doesn't know me. I mean, I barely know him by him being a celebrity. And he's got tears in his eyes, and he's telling me. He says, my quarterback, Trent Green, he's out for the season. And I've got this other guy who is like 28 years old, and he's like a rookie, and I don't know what to do. I says, well, Coach, the season hasn't even started yet, so you are left with a choice to go out and get a quarterback, or to stay with this guy and make him work. Okay, make it work. All right. And so I discovered this recently that after this. When he was questioned about Kurt Warner, he says, he's our guy, and we're going to make this work. Okay, coincidence? Maybe. I don't know, probably.
I was watching that press conference because I was
I
was a new Rams fan, very excited because this was supposed to be the year. Trent Green was supposed to be the guy that was going to lead him to the Super Bowl. He gets hurt, and Dick Vermeil goes in front of the meeting. He says, we're going to rally around Kurt Warner. And we are going to play great football. And everybody was like, you're nuts. You're
Bingo.
completely nuts.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I give good advice. I don't always do the right thing. I give better advice than I actually do for myself sometimes. And that was pretty good advice, So I'm real happy that happened, that's for sure. Why is this thing still up? Are we going to do something here?
We were going to play clips 3 and 4.
Oh, okay. 3 and 4. Let's do it.
And the appropriate way to deal with that is, number one, arrangements at the polls that protect people, which can be done. And number two...
I wanted to do that for what's his name, for the McCloskeys. But I do want to do is, let's do the Tucker Carlson thing with, let's play all 3 clips for poor Adam Kinzinger. You got to have sympathy for this guy, right? The Republican, who I also met and talked to. Obviously, he didn't take any of my advice. Well, I didn't have any advice for him. But I spent about 10 minutes with this guy about years and years ago. Okay, so hit that one. Let's do Tucker Carlson. Goodbye, Adam Kinzinger.
Mr. Adam Kinzinger of Kankakee, Illinois, ladies and gentlemen. Kinzinger was first elected to the House 12 years ago. And for the bulk of his time in office, he served utterly without distinction in virtual anonymity. A few of his constituents had heard of him, but none expressed interest in learning more. Then, in 2018, came the transformation. That was the year that Adam Kinzinger turned 40, and things began to change inside of him. The first signs were subtle but unmistakable. Choking up at a car insurance commercial, opening an Instagram account and posting pictures of himself, wearing spandex bike shorts to Starbucks without shame, and sometimes with a fanny pack. By 2021, Kinzinger had a full-blown case of male menopause, with all the familiar painful symptoms: mood swings, hot flashes, food cravings, uncontrollable weeping. A lesser man would have retreated from public life, chosen new pronouns, and transitioned in private. But Adam Kinzinger chose another path. He chose to be a role model. He wanted other middle-aged men to know there is life after a hormonal imbalance. And so on July 27th, 2021, Adam Kinzinger bravely came out of the closet as a weepy man. You may remember the moment.
I never expected a day to be quite as emotional for me as it has been. But you guys won. You guys held. You know, democracies are not defined by our bad days.
Imagine the courage that took. Yes, I am emotionally incontinent. Yes, I am utterly irrational. No, I will not be silent. In Washington, Kinzinger's performance was considered deeply inspirational. Here's a man who has no control of himself at all, so we'd better put him in charge of important things. Kinzinger made that clear the other day when he responded personally to a Twitter account called Cat Turd. Because when you're one of Washington's leading authorities on foreign policy, you spend a lot of time on Twitter reading accounts with names like Cat Turd. So the other day, Cat Turd made the mistake of posting a meme that seemed to mock the colors of the Ukrainian flag, colors that are sacred to Adam Kinzinger and every other empathetic soccer mom in her mid-40s. You can imagine how offensive that was. It was like telling an off-color joke about Meghan Markle. It could not stand. And so alone and battling debilitating hot flashes in his kitchen, fighting the urge to open yet another bag of Chips Ahoy, Adam Kinzinger fought back. Literal evil, he wrote in a late-night response to Cat Turd. If I met you in person, it would not end well. For you, sicko. Whoa! Hear that, Cat Turd? It will not end well for you. That's not a pillow fight Adam Kinzinger is talking about. That's a full-on slap fight with hair pulling.
Okay. it's Tucker Carlson's actually a riot. All right. I'm not so sure I'm as big of a hard ass as he is on Ukraine, because, you know, after all, they did get invaded. Now, what's happening to the money? Well, that's a problem. I realize that because there's no control. Well, there's a Democrat in there, and we can't trust them. You know, a lot of it's probably coming back in kickbacks because that's the way they operate. And most politicians operate that way. I don't think we had that problem with Donald Trump, though. Okay? And that's another situation. Trump, you know, he has been vilified so much that the vilification of it in all of its massiveness doesn't matter anymore if it's true. It's people are turning on him because, well, he's somehow compromised. Nothing has been proven. The man, I don't believe, has ever been indicted, and hasn't, I know, in the last 7 years.
3 times tried to impeach him and couldn't get the job done because there wasn't anything.
At least $100 million of your money, my money, taxpayer money, going to impeach him for lies. And now they're going to try to arrest him. They're going to try for it. He didn't do anything wrong. Okay, this stuff about the raid on Mar-a-Lago, that's ridiculous. Everybody knows that has done any work at all that the nuclear codes from Bill Clinton were hidden in a drawer and it got lost. We lost our nuclear codes for 2 months. Okay? We had no way to strike back if Russia had known that. And if Hillary had been writing in her emails at that time, they would have known that, and we would have been totally vulnerable.
It's okay. She deleted all the emails anyway, so it's okay.
Well, she didn't delete them exactly. They're still. Probably they might be able to recover them. Still, okay. But I mean, the stuff that's criminal stuff. Selling uranium to Russia for cash or for contributions, that's illegal. Getting $3.5 million from the widow of the mayor of Moscow, good friend of Putin's, to Hunter Biden, of which I'm sure Joe Biden and the rest of the crime family, including his brother Jim, had their cut. You know, that's illegal. Getting all that money from China, from the Ukraine, for who knows what. In and of itself, they didn't pay taxes on it. Now that Trump's taxes are going to be released, well, how about the rest of them? Should they not have their taxes released?
That's the only thing I find interesting about this whole thing is that if they're going to make sure that Trump's is available, that now sets the precedent that if they want to request him for somebody else, well, we had Trump submit his.
Well, yeah.
So now we need to see yours. So
they're going to fight like crazy against it. They're already fighting against the impending investigations that are coming up. All right, they're going to slow roll it, and they're going to fight like crazy that none of it gets out. Okay, you know that's what you're fighting against. You're fighting with a professional thug. We are not thugs. We are polite. But we have to start thinking like the thugs on the other side. Okay? We can't allow them to do this. We can't allow them to destroy this country. How important was it for George Washington to have stayed in the Revolution, to have stayed in when he was losing? And he was losing for a good portion of that war until we got France signed up. And once the French appeared, and once he decided he wasn't going anywhere, we beat him with sheer power of personality of George Washington. That's why he will always be the best president ever. What do you think of that?
I'm in agreement.
I mean, second maybe would be Lincoln. Did a very brave thing. He showed that Republicans weren't the racist pigs that the Democrats still are. And they are. They're going to abandon. They're abandoning the blacks right now. They're abandoned. They don't care about them. What they care about right now is the illegal immigrants, 5 to 10 million of them right now, who are getting in this country. You thinking this is an accident? You're out of your mind. How could this be an accident? I mean, since when can you let foreign countries? What foreign country could you go to and sneak into? What one would you want to sneak into? Okay, is there any that you'd want to sneak in? You want to sneak in Venezuela? Huh? How about Cuba? Want to go to Cuba? Cuba's actually getting a lot of people crossing the border now all of a sudden. I don't know what happened there, but they don't want the Cubans because the Cubans turn into Republicans, don't they? So, all right. Anyhow, let's talk some more about other stuff that I have written. Let's see here. Oh, you got this George Santos guy who is a new lying Republican, sort of like Joe Biden. In fact, he was interviewed by Tulsi Gabbard the other day, who was sitting in for, I believe it was Tucker, and she called him on it. She says, a guy lied about being Jewish, about being Holocaust-related parents, and all sorts of stuff about how he made a living. So she says, how dare you do this to your people? Why aren't you resigning? He says, well, tell me when Joe Biden is going to resign for all the lies he told, I mean, come on. He says, if I was a Democrat, nobody would care. He said, well, you're not. You're a Republican. Well, anyways, I'm pretty sure that McCarthy doesn't want him to leave because I think he's got his vote. All right, so that's a reason to keep him. Pope Benedict is dying, so prayers go to him. I thought he was a pretty good pope, and this one is not so good in my opinion. I don't like what he did to Frank Pavone. I'm not crazy about Frank Pavone, who was a priest for life. But you know what? He was a priest for life. Okay? Yeah, and you know what? He was a little outspoken. He was a pain in the rear end, just like I am. Believe me, I have shut myself down in meetings at McDonald's. Why? Because my son wants me to. If anyone wants to get in trouble, he says I'm going to do it. I said fine. But anyway, he's not going to raise he's not going to raise the criticisms that were adopted in McDonald's from me, not only on a local nature, but also on a national basis. And they didn't like me, but they respected me, and they still respect me, and they know I'm not going to put up with crap. And that's why I'm doing this show. I'm going to call it like the way I see it. If you got a problem with it, call me, 573-578-2700. Why don't you call up...
did you call Adolf?
Adolf, I forgot all about that. So, airlines, big fail. This is the whole system is going to be... Who's going to want to fly after this? Huh? Any of you? I don't want to fly.
We have new suitcases. We have to fly.
Well, you know what? There's
Good morning.
Hi there. This is a Chinese restaurant. Did you make order?
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good.
Hi,
you know, you guys got to listen to the show so you know when I'm in an interview or something, you know, because I can't just stop.
I know. But Happy New Year to all of you.
Well, Happy New Year.
I hope the year is wonderful for both of you.
Good.
Thank
you too.
Also.
Thank you.
How's your knee?
Okay. Yeah. God bless you guys.
God bless us. Okay, thank you. God bless you too.
We love you.
Okay.
Yeah, we hope your show continues, and
thank you.
You're always going to be there.
Well, we
okay?
appreciate you. All right. Well, say hi to the old man.
I will. Okay.
Thanks.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Well, I guess he wasn't home. He gave up. So we've got interesting news on COVID-19. Over 51,000 working-aged Cleveland Clinic employees took COVID-19 boosters, which was 30% effective in preventing infection. The risk of COVID-19 also varied by the number of vaccines previously received. The higher the number of vaccines previously received, the higher the risk of contracting COVID-19 than ones that didn't take it at all. And they're saying what we've been saying all along is that the what do you call it when you get a shot? When you get the disease?
Immunity.
Immunity plays a big part in this, and that's never been studied. It's always been a hoax. It's always been about these guys meddling with China, Fauci and the rest of them. There was more than one, and doing the doing this disease with bats and change of function to where these things could adapt to humans and be very very ill and even die. And the problem is they wanted to shortcut the vaccine. You know, vaccines used to be made like over 5 years, 10 years, a lot of testing, a lot of human testing, a lot of animal testing. Well, we were the guinea pigs for this, and they didn't work, and they are dangerous. Everybody should look up the VAERS report, and look especially, if you can find it, because a lot of it's hidden. This is from the CDC, though. Look it up and find the charts that show these massive dying and these massive bad effects. That's what the VAERS report tells you, is bad effects from vaccines. And you'll see 31 years ago, we had all the other vaccines lined up right up until 2020, and all of a sudden that thing shoots way up. And it probably hasn't stopped. And now we're getting a new wave of this, in China especially. But now in St. Louis, they're starting to make you wear masks again. The masks have proven totally unnecessary. We're talking about now the government will find a way to do stuff with this. Sure have. It's called locking people down, closing the schools, and having total control of you. Total control. And could even determine life and death, and then threaten you if you don't take the vaccine, which we now know is really dangerous, affecting all industries. This is connected to the airline industry too.
And if you need further proof, check out the documentary Died Suddenly.
Yeah,
it will open your eyes. But the funny thing is, those of us that aren't vaccinated who spoke out against it,
yeah,
we were just conspiracy theorists. We didn't know what we were talking about because the science said blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Although my wife, who is a 20-year nurse, heard what they were saying. She said, that's not what medical science says.
Exactly. If you have other, in fact, you got to say a lot about Elon Musk, because he straightened that out too. He says that this is Twitter's for science. That means you have other opinions. You have other studies of the way things are. We're not going to turn that off, as it was turned off on Twitter by the idiots that made sure there were doctors who disagreed with it or did other studies were kicked off of Twitter, literally blacklisted on Twitter. You know, this is not America. This is not even a sane country would do that. But if you want to kill off a bunch of people, well, there you go. And there's some people involved in this that have talked about that before, like Bill Gates. He's talked about reducing the population. And guess what? They succeeded and are succeeding. The death rate now is higher than it was in 1996. People aren't living as long. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Okay.
Talking about lies, and more lies, like some of the clips we have where Tucker, they talk about the biggest lies of 2022. Yeah. I say that some of that is definitely part of it.
I think we're going to do a couple of those clips right now. Let's do 5 and 6 for that.
So what defined the politics of 2022? Well, lying did. This was the year of lying. The people in charge tell an awful lot of lies. That's what we learned. And we know this for sure because while they are avid and committed liars, they're not very good at it. Their lies are amateurish, obvious, pathetic, sad. And there's something kind of insulting about that. Don't take a leak on my boots and tell me it's raining, goes the old cowboy phrase. Don't tell me something we both know isn't true and expect me to believe it. When you do that, you assault my dignity. You diminish me. You treat me like a child. If you're going to tell me a lie, put some effort into it. Try something clever. Have pride of craftsmanship. Don't pull the same old dusty alibi off the shelf like a jar of expired spaghetti sauce and expect me to fall for it again. Oh, we can't tell you that, Mr. and Mrs. America. It's a matter of grave national security. But don't worry. Everything's totally fine. We're doing a great job. So here, ladies and gentlemen, are our favorite lies of 2022. We had an awful lot to choose from in making tonight's list, from Paul Pelosi's late-night crime scene to the endless propaganda about the Ukraine war to the million non-existent Americans who actually didn't get new jobs in the third quarter of the year. But we're going to start with what might be the dumbest lie ever told. Vladimir Putin blew up his own natural gas pipeline to Europe. Now, by doing this, Putin crippled his own economy and weakened his own strategic position in the middle of a war. But he did it anyway because that's the kind of evil behavior Vladimir Putin is famous for. He's so evil. He's not only a threat to us, a direct physical peril to Omaha, Bangor, and San Jose. Vladimir Putin is so evil, he's an existential threat to himself. Stop that man before he blows up more of his own pipelines.
Okay. That's Tucker Carlson. We got a few more of those clips. We're going to be playing them later if we get to them. If not, well, so be it. We have a big L.A. failure in homeless shelters. They got a lot of homeless out there, and it's been gaining all over the place. The place is a mess. You know, it used to be such a pretty place and pretty town, and now, I mean, everywhere you've got homeless living there. So they've been building homeless shelters. And they've been building it for decades. But, they range from, listen to this, for the homeless, $700,000 to $1.2 million per home, per apartment. And they're raising taxes on people to do this. And they're way behind. Okay? So instead of building a more reasonable shelter quickly, they're building these homes that are going to take a fortune to supply whatever they need to do to live. I don't know. What are they going to do? Suddenly pay taxes? Suddenly pay for the heating and for cooking and for food too? I mean, they're going to bankrupt that. In fact, L.A., California in general, is losing tons of population, just like New York is doing in that. They're losing it to Texas and other places. New York is losing it mainly to Florida. You got these drag shows all over the USA for little kids. Okay? I mean, this is like sick. I mean, really, parents are taking their kids to these drag shows? For what purpose? You know? We have so many things that are sick in our schools today. Now they're doing it in schools, too. They're having drag queens come in and read them books at schools dressed accordingly to what drag queens normally wear. And they're indoctrinating these kids to be other things than they were born to be. And it's sick. COVID-19 ripping through China. Travel from China is before they've now the Biden administration is putting the stops to China traveling here, but about 50% of the people who were in China who flew here before that were infected. Remember what they went crazy about Donald Trump stopping China from traveling here, and everybody, Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, they called him a racist. They called him a racist. I don't know how many millions of people did he save versus how many millions of people did these warped individuals kill by locking people down, by putting sick people into nursing homes and infecting all the old people who died. How many people did they kill and are killing now? And with the intent, once again, to lock us down, to put masks on us, you can see where this is going here, and part of it is to keep the voting system where it can't function right, where it's easy to cheat, where it's all mail-in stuff. And you're going to hear a lot more from this Supreme Court, not necessarily the Supreme Court, but from this Arizona deal, because this is fresh evidence. This was fresh off that election. And this isn't like a year or two later that we're finding this out, like the COVID thing. Were we absolutely sure? Yeah, I was pretty sure. But, think about it. Think about all the people that you know out there that have been affected by friends, by family members, by co-workers that have suddenly died of things they didn't have in the first place at a young age, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s even. Think about that. I thought I'd include you there, honey.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For including my
That was in the 30s.
decade.
That was the 30s.
Oh.
See, I was including you there, which makes me kind of a child molester, I guess.
Oh,
I don't know.
it.
Oh, you stab it.
God, here.
Cradle robber.
No, stop it. People don't need to hear that.
That must be the New Year's whip. Is that what that is?
That's the wake-up card
that's
right there.
my protest.
So somebody said that there were 250 million people in China infected in the last 20 days. I heard that on the news. And I think that's something that you made me go back because you said, did they say 250 million? I said, that sounds like a lot. And yeah, that was last night, I think. The 1-6 committee seems to be done. They're winding down, and they're withdrawing the subpoena from Trump. How about that? Deion Sanders. You know, this guy has popped up in a bunch of commercials with the best coach we know of in college football, and that would be all right, go ahead. Tell
Nick
us.
Saban.
Yeah, I knew that. Nick Saban from Alabama. And now, all of a sudden, Deion Sanders, who actually was a great football player and a great baseball player. He was like Bo, what's his name? Bo Jackson?
Bo Jackson, yep.
Yeah. He was like Bo, and he played in both, and he starred. He actually won 2 World Series and a Super Bowl. The only person to ever do that. 1-1 would have been fine. But isn't that something? And now he's making commercials with Nick Saban. And one of the reasons is he's now a football coach. And he has taken his football coaching to the level of having a team that wasn't that good, having a perfect season, 10-0 or something.
Jackson State University. Now he's the head coach of the University of Colorado.
Yeah, which coincidentally is where Emory Moorhead, the tight end for the Chicago Bears, and a fellow Evanston Township Wild kid who knew of me, and we have talked recently. He always looks at me really weird, like he doesn't he's looking at me with respect, but after I guess looking at me for a while, he wonders why he respects me. Because I'm standing up there breaking my neck, looking. You know, if we went against each other, you would be going down. Come on, this guy's 6'9", 6'8", and he's huge. Okay, and he's looking at me seriously, like, yeah, that could happen. All righty. Well, maybe it would have happened in the old days when I was young. It wouldn't be happening 10 years ago or 5 years ago. So, Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's out of jail. His convictions were overturned. He had a lot of convictions for rape and for setting these women up by giving them, he'd pour stuff into their drinks and make them tired and sleepy, and he'd rape them.
Yep. Roofies, yep.
Yeah. So now the conviction is overturned by a court. He's out of jail, and he's going to do a comedy tour in 23. He's 85 years old. Okay? I don't want to say anything about it because, it's weird. You know? Was he innocent? I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough to comment on it. There's not only Cubans are escaping to the U.S. in record numbers, but Russian migrants from the Ukraine are at our border escaping war. So they're there. And so we're getting a lot of Russian immigrants. And these are people that actually, probably a lot of Jewish people are going to Israel and to the United States via the southern border. So this is where my people came in legally. I know because we saw it in the Ellis Island record books, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we saw my grandfather, Michael Weinbaum. That's my middle name is Michael. Came in, I think he was age 9 at 1909, and he got in and went to Chicago, where I think we had other relatives, and a bunch of them came in. I couldn't find them.
You found Rose.
Did I?
Yeah.
I don't remember doing that.
well, maybe
I think it was Rose.
You looked for Rose.
I think it was. I know I looked.
That's the Cohen.
But her name
right?
wasn't Weinbaum. He was.
Cohen.
They weren't made, huh?
It was Cohen, wasn't it?
No, that was my mother's side.
Oh.
No.
Well, then maybe you're not here legally. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe we're illegal. I don't know. Well, my grandfather wasn't. Anyways, I can prove that. So again, Kanye is missing. Has anyone seen Kanye? I'm going to give you a reward of a fillet of fish and a Big Mac if you find Kanye and have him call the show. Okay? I'm sure he'll be willing to do that.
My hunch is he doesn't want to be found.
Yeah, and we're coming up to where we've got. It's 10:30, isn't it? Almost. All right. So we're gonna have a little bit here, and we're gonna wait for the caller. Hopefully that will be soon. Let's do Alexa old people. All right.
The new Amazon Echo has everyone asking Alexa for help.
Alexa, what time is it? What the hell is wrong with this blasted thing? Amanda!
But the latest technology isn't always easy to use for people of a certain age.
These kids have bought me a busted machine again. On guesser!
That's why Amazon partnered with AARP to present the new Amazon Echo Silver, the only smart speaker device designed specifically to be used by the greatest generation. It's super loud and responds to any name even remotely close to Alexa, so they can find out the weather.
Allegra, what is the weather outside?
It is 74 degrees and sunny.
Huh?
It is 74 degrees and sunny.
Where?
Outside.
What about it?
The temperature outside is 74 degrees and sunny.
I don't know about that.
The latest in sports.
Clarissa, how many did old Satchel strike out last night?
Satchel Paige died in 1982.
How many you get?
Satchel Paige is dead.
He what now?
Died.
Who did?
Satchel Paige.
I don't know about that.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to have Mark McCloskey, who protected their home from 350 mob who was trying to kill them, with his wife Patricia and one rifle and one little pistol. He is now they are suing Congresswoman Cori Bush, who led the insurrection, if I might use that word. And he will be representing, he and his wife himself. He is the future AG to Donald Trump. Please welcome Mark and Patricia McCloskey. How you guys doing?
Oh, pretty good, Dave. How you doing this weekend?
Hanging in there, buddy. Hanging in there. Well, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Good. I loved your Christmas picture. That was really cool. Actually.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It's just our typical day in paradise.
Yeah. Well, you're still at the same house, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Although we're behind a half-inch bulletproof Lexan now, but it's still the same house.
Well, I would think so. Yeah, I would think you'd done something, but good for you for not leaving. So,
yeah, well, you can't let them push you out. I mean, that's the whole point of all this. Well, you can't let them win. You can't let them bully you. You just got to stand up to it and say, we're not going to back down.
And you know what? That's one of the bravest things you can do. Of course, under those odds, it's almost like it's crazy to do it, but you did it and you succeeded. When does the trial start?
Well, we're in the process now of trying to get Cori Bush and Rasheen Aldridge, her partner in crime, served with a lawsuit. We had problems during the campaign trying to locate them. Now that their campaigns are over, we're getting them served. we should probably get around to doing something substantial. By this time next year. But the wheels of justice grind slowly.
Yes, and that's a big problem, isn't it?
Well, and then you got to think about a jury of our quote peers unquote in the city of St. Louis in a lawsuit against Cori Bush.
Yeah, good luck with that.
So.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you need to move it somewhere. I don't know where you could move it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no real option there. So we gotta be where it happened, and we'll see what happens. But I mean, it'll be fun. I mean, what did she say about a year ago? I spat on her name. Well, we're gonna do some more spitting here.
Yeah, well deserved too. I want to know when, because I might show up. I want to see this.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. If once we get,
I want to see you on crossings.
I'm drooling for the opportunity to take her testimony under oath. Oh, that'll be a lot of fun.
That'll be a circus in there. No doubt about it. The judge will be banging his gavel, and you're probably better off with a judge and not a jury. What do you think?
Well, it depends on who the judge is in the city of St. Louis. Now, there are some good conservative judges in the city of St. Louis, so you may well be right on that.
I was married by a judge, and I should have asked for a jury, quite frankly. So, does McCarthy make it a speaker?
Yeah, I think he will. It's just what I've been saying since the election. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. You're not allowed to have any material change in this country, because powers that be have the power to make sure they always be the power.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I just had a long conversation about that with Chris Adamo. He's an admirer of yours, by the way. I don't know why, but he's an admirer of yours. And he wants to be on the show with you, so I'll arrange that sometime. Is Trump still your guy?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what is all this BS about? Everybody is in the Republican Party. Oh, he's just there's too much stuff going on about him. Well, yeah, it's done by the other side. It's not by him. He's not convicted. He's not arrested. He's not anything other than probably one of the best presidents we've ever had since Washington.
I like the headline on the web yesterday where it says, if Trump agrees not to run for president, would you agree with him not having to go to prison? Yeah. I mean, this is like the ultimate false choice, right?
Now, where did you read that? Was that on Twitter? Was it on Facebook?
That was on some what is it? Oh, just a Google face page on the internet. I mean, that's the choice. Okay,
sure.
When did you stop beating your wife? Right?
Yeah, bingo. That's what they're talking about. Well, there's so much. There's so much hatred there. There's so much hatred and so many accusations. There's got to be something there.
Well, here's the thing, right? This is my analogy. What they're doing is they're throwing the chum over the side of the boat, and then they're surprised that the sharks are circling.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. And now they've released his tax returns, and for the next 30 days, everybody's going to be digging into some aspect of his tax returns. I hope that Jason Smith, our 8th District Congressman, becomes chairman of Ways and Means, because I'm going to suggest to Congressman Smith that Nancy Pelosi and Jerry Nadler and Chuck Schumer's tax returns all get released to the public.
Yeah.
And let's see how they like it.
Well, how about Biden?
Oh yeah, how about Joe Biden? How about Hunter Biden?
How about Hunter? Yeah, you got that one. So you would be the Attorney General if Trump asked you, and you know what? You have an advantage.
I wouldn't mind having an opportunity to dig in, for example, the Clinton Foundation and the Obamas and where they got their money from, and Joe Biden, how he got 40 years as a public servant and he ends up being a multimillionaire. How does that happen?
Yeah, exactly. And you would make, and you're not from the swamp. They got nothing on you. Oh, you will be threatened. There's
you don't
no
need
doubt
to have
about
anything on you these days. The media just reports it as fact, and everybody runs with it. Once again, more chum over the side of the boat.
Yeah, let me play a couple of clips for you. That's from Bill Barr, and I want you to think about what he says here which is in October of 2020, I believe, just before the election, and what he said directly after the election. Hit it.
And the appropriate way to deal with that is, number one, arrangements at the polls that protect people, which can be done. And number two, people who have pre-existing conditions and are particularly vulnerable can get an absentee ballot. I have no problem with people. I voted by absentee ballot, not by mail. I actually went to the office to cast my vote. But absentee ballots are fine.
All right, let's move on and talk a little bit about another suggestion. You've said you were worried that a foreign country could send thousands of fake ballots to people, and it might be impossible to detect. What are you basing that on?
I'm basing that, as I've said repeatedly, I'm basing that on logic.
Pardon?
Logic.
But have you seen any evidence that a foreign country is trying to interfere in that way?
No, I'm saying people are concerned about foreign influence, and if we use a ballot system with the system that that states are just now trying to adopt, it does leave open the possibility of counterfeiting.
Because the intelligence community says Russia, China, and Iran are seeking to interfere in the U.S. presidential election for various reasons, but mostly they want to sow dissent in our country, exacerbate racial tensions, et cetera, like that. Of those three countries that the intelligence community has pointed to, Russia, China, and Iran, which is the most assertive, the most aggressive in this area?
I believe it's China.
Which one?
China.
China more than Russia right now?
Yes.
Why do you say that?
Because I've seen the intelligence. That's what I've concluded.
What are they trying to do?
Well, I'm not going to discuss that.
But they're trying to help who wins?
I'm not going to get into that.
More aggressive than Russia?
Yes.
Because the U.S. intelligence community...
Trying to influence the United States? Yes.
Yeah. I'm just trying to be precise on that area.
This is playing with fire. This is playing with fire. We're a very closely divided country here. And if people have to have confidence in the results of the election and the legitimacy of the government, and people trying to change the rules to this methodology, which, as a matter of logic, is very open to fraud and coercion, is reckless and dangerous. And the people are playing with fire.
Well, I will point out there are 5 states that only have mail-in voting, including Utah and Colorado, Washington State, Oregon, Hawaii, and they've reported over the years they've had virtually no problems. But who's trying to change the rules right now?
I would say the people who want to go to mass mail-in ballots.
But you understand why. There is a coronavirus pandemic,
right.
And there are a lot of people potentially, if they waited long lines when they go to the polls, they could get sick, especially older people or people with underlying conditions. As a result, a lot of people want to change the rules so they don't have to go waiting long lines.
So this is the same Attorney General Barr who on December the 1st, not even a month after the November 3rd election in 2020, went and said, oh, there was no cheating in this enough to throw the election. So you know what his job is as Attorney General, right? You're going to be Attorney General, right?
Well, that's what the Weinbaum show tells me.
Well, then it's going to come true, obviously.
Absolutely.
But you got to help.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, you got to do your stuff, okay? That's what, see, God, I ask for guidance from God, all right? And that means I got to do the work.
Yeah.
You see?
Well, the Lord helps them that help themselves, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I think, all right? Now,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you understand that, and you live by that as well. But
Absolutely.
Here's a guy that is Trump's AG. Trump is still in office as of December 1st, and he says that, well, nothing to see here, and yet, he's in charge of the FBI and the DOJ. He's the Attorney General, right? I
got to tell you that every aspect of the federal judiciary dropped the ball on this. They didn't drop the ball. They were afraid to pick it up. The ball was laying there in an open field, and the Supreme Court, the AG's office, the FBI, the Department of Justice all closed their eyes and walked away from it. And, when you ask yourself why, think about Chuck Schumer standing on the Supreme Court steps threatening Gorsuch and Kavanaugh that if they don't vote the right way, they'll pay the price. Well, that pay the price, that's a threat of physical violence. And there's no other way to interpret it. And these people are just ordinary human beings. They've got families and kids and grandkids, and they know exactly what that threat means. Well, so I'm not surprised that everybody just turned a blind eye and walked away.
Here's even a more important thing. Theirs is such a big lie. They're not just dropping it. They know at that point that they have told social media, the FBI has told social media to stop the Hunter Biden laptop story. They told them to stop it, and they did. All social media dropped it. There are now some people making these polls being taken that says over 50% of Biden voters said that if they had known about that, they wouldn't have voted for him. End of story. Election sold out.
Yeah.
And that's
that's the most frightening thing that's happened in this country. Now that we know that the federal judiciary, the federal law enforcement agencies don't even pretend to be unbiased anymore, that they now are admittedly working to keep the power structure in power, working to influence the election, working against the election of Donald Trump. And by the way, none of these people have gone to jail. None of these people are doing any time. It's just, the fraud is on such a massive scale now, and the corruption is so ingrained in our society that people accept it without complaint. But it's the end of any semblance of a free republic when you've got the federal law enforcement agencies actually trying to censor and manipulate elections. You combine the COVID fraud of mail-in unsolicited ballots with the FBI and the DOJ influencing what you're allowed to know and what you're allowed to say and hear. And this is no longer a free republic. This is a centrally controlled police state.
What would you do with the FBI should you be in charge of them as an attorney general?
Well, people like to hold investigations. I like to hold investigations that end with prison sentences. Yep. If it turns out that members of the FBI that have raised their right hand and sworn to protect the Constitution, in fact, directly and intentionally violated the First Amendment and attempted to influence the outcome of an election, that's treasonous. I mean, that should be dealt with as harshly as anything you could possibly deal with. It's not a matter of having an investigation and saying, don't do that again. People have to see that there are real and dire consequences for that kind of treason against this country.
What would you do about people? What would you do about the 1-6 situation? And we think there at least people in we think maybe that the Democrats were all in charge of this. They were the ones who coordinated everything.
Who's Ray Epps, by the way, right?
Yeah, who's Ray Epps? The FBI. Yeah. I mean, he worked for the FBI. You had FBI people there. You had Black Lives Matter. You had Antifa.
I'll just give as a personal example. Out of the 350 to 500 people that tore down my gate, stormed my neighborhood, and threatened to kill me, not one of them has done a day in jail. And yet these poor sons of guns, these political prisoners in D.C., have been rotting under horrible situations in solitary confinement, reports of torture and abuse and worst possible situation for doing no more than trespass or being on Capitol grounds or parading without a license, crimes that wouldn't get you a overnight in a county jail anywhere else in the country. And these people are just political prisoners. Once again, if I'm the AG or if I'm the new Congress and I put Nancy Pelosi on the stand and get her to testify about how many of these people are working for the government, why the Capitol Police were told to stand down, why additional security was refused, and then have her go to jail. Have there be some real consequence.
Now, what do you think about the Carrie Lake, Arizona governorship trial? Did you listen to any of that?
Oh, gosh. And, here's Carrie Lake, right?
Yeah.
She's an attractive, well-spoken, a really articulate young lady who ran a great campaign against the Secretary of State who's hiding in her basement, who refuses to recuse herself. The person with the job of counting the votes who's running against the person against whom the voter fraud is engaged, and she refuses to recuse herself, and now is seeking sanctions against Lake for filing the lawsuit against her for faking the election. It's so Orwellian. You just can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, and I actually broke the story of that via my friend. You ever hear of Jeff Zink?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, he was running for Congress in
Maricopa
Mr.
County. Zink and I are good friends.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, we talk all the time.
Did you meet on this show or through the show?
Yeah, we met through your show, and then he and I have been corresponding since.
Great. Well, I talked to him the other day, and obviously they're going to appeal it. And I had him on. I was listening to the actual testimony. He got me a link, and they proved it. They proved, not only did they prove that it was thrown, they could prove that every single vote out of the 3.1 million votes that came out of Maricopa County, which is most of the votes in Arizona, was invalid because of the chain of custody wasn't there.
Yeah.
Okay, wasn't there for any of them.
Isn't it a coincidence that the voting machines that ran out of ink and had all the other technical problems only happen in Republican communities?
20-inch paper versus 19-inch content. That didn't work. Okay, none of it worked. And, that was no accident. And once again, you have the same person who's running for the office in control of the election. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out on that, I believe. We'll see.
And the problem, of course, is that then you get the local court throws out the case. It goes up to the Court of Appeals. Let's say the Court of Appeals in the state throws out the case. So you go up to the United States Supreme Court. You're now 2.5 years down the road. And now, just like in our current situation with President Trump, you're now 2.5 years down the road. Let's say the Supreme Court of the United States rules that there was rampant election fraud and the results of the election have to be thrown out. What are you going to do? Have a new election in the middle of the term? Declare Kari Lake the governor? There's no good solution after the passage of that much time. And that's the problem.
So
that's how
what are you describing as an option?
I'm sorry?
What are you describing as an option?
Well, the option is that there ought to be a mechanism by which, first of all, you got to have poll watchers. You got to have verification at the time of the election. But in this case, it doesn't matter because there was so much obvious mistake. There were so many machines that did not function there. And she had expert witnesses that testified that it was impossible for this level of mistake to happen on accident, that it had to have been planned, it had to have been organized, and yet the court still didn't look at it. There ought to be an emergency review by the United States Supreme Court where there's such, in my humble opinion, obvious fraud. The problem is by the delay factor built into the legal process. You probably heard that yesterday the court in St. Louis denied my lawsuit to get my guns back, the ones that were taken.
No, I didn't know that. No, I did not hear that.
Yeah. Well,
really,
we argued that motion May the 4th of this year, 7 months ago. It took the judge 7 months to rule on the motion, deny it, and now I get to file the appeal to the Court of Appeals. It'll be another year until we hear from the Court of Appeals. And so this all happened in August of 2020 when the guns were confiscated, or July of 2020. It'll be 2025 before we get a complete result of whether or not I get those two guns back. And that's the problem with the judicial system. It is such a time-consuming and laborious process that by the time there's a resolution, the issue is so cold, no one cares anymore. The other aspect of it is the Roger Stone and Mike Flynn aspect of it, and that is that it's so expensive that no matter how wealthy you are, you're driven into poverty to fight the process and fight the system.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it sounds to me like you're looking at legislation to push quicker. I mean, you're supposed to be entitled to a quick trial. I mean, that's Constitution, right?
The first thing that has to happen, of course, is there needs to be a complete rollback of all these COVID-related changes in election. And I've been a big advocate for a long time, long before COVID, to have day of elections, have election day, not election season, paper ballots counted by hand, no machines, no electronics. The rest of the world does it. They do it promptly. They get a certain result of the elections on election day, instead of this system now where even in Missouri we get 6 weeks of advance voting. And if that John Lewis voter rights bill passes, which God help us if it does, there'll never be another fair election in the history of the country.
Yeah,
because
we're done.
Then the entire country gets unsolicited mail-in ballots. Vote harvesting is made legal in every state, and challenging elections becomes a crime. It just becomes a single-party totalitarian state.
We're pretty well done the way it is, and I hate to say that, but because I'm going to keep fighting, but it's going to take a miracle to switch this, because who are you going to go to change this? I mean, most of the people with the power are in the Democratic Party, who don't want to change this, who know how to cheat and are cheating. So what do you do?
Even when you have, you've got a perfect storm, if you will, of an opportunity to retake control of government this last election cycle. You've got a horrible economy. You've got an open border. You've got all this corruption in the FBI and the Department of Justice. You've got billions and billions and billions of dollars going to the corrupt government of Ukraine. And you've got an opportunity to take back the House and the Senate and start to fix stuff. And even under those circumstances, where there could not possibly be more motivation for good, God-fearing American conservatives to get out there and vote for a change, what do we get? Like I say, meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Well, I'll tell you what, I go by the thing that victories often occur when you see no way to succeed, but refuse to give up anyway. And that's what I try to live by, especially in my older age here, because...
Or as my friend Colonel Joe Adams says when he was in Burma working with the resistance to the leftist regime, everybody told him his job was impossible. And he said, well, that's easy. Now that I know my job's impossible, all I can do is do better than expected.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, exactly. And it seems like it's impossible from my vantage point. And yet I've been in that position before a couple of times to where I thought there was nothing I could do, but I just hung in there long enough. And that's why I'm such a believer in God helping me out in these situations that I didn't give up in.
Sometimes politics is like alcoholism or a drug addiction. You don't have the gumption to really fight back and beat it until you hit rock bottom. I thought we hit rock bottom last November, but apparently not. Apparently people are willing to take more and more oppression and less freedom, even than we had in the first 2 years of the Biden administration. But I think it's going to take a crisis of greater import to wake the people up and make them actually risk their BMWs and their cable television to get up and make a difference.
Other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find the both of you these days?
I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and we're contemplating where to go next. We're contemplating a radio program. I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm going to jump back into politics in this upcoming election cycle, trying to figure out where we can be most effective. And the problem is that the political system is fairly controlled by the party. The party doesn't want change. The party wants known quantities to replace the already known quantities, and big money rules. And the big money will only go towards keeping big money in power. And so politics is somewhat frustrating right now, to put it mildly. And so maybe there's a better way to go.
Well, maybe there is. By the way, do you know that you could take a flight of stairs and Southwest will still lose your luggage? All right. Thank you so much, my friends. And you have a great New Year's, all right?
Happy New Year to you and yours.
Thank you. The McCloskeys! Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay, well, I got 1:45 to go. There's not much to do except for telling everybody that thank you for being in the audience. Thanks for listening, and I really, really hope that you don't give up. It's not easy, okay? I don't know. I don't have the answer because there's so many things that you got to do, and there's so many things that have to happen. The one thing you can't lose is your faith in God. Whatever your religion is, your faith in God that He is going to guide you and help you become successful. Happy New Year from Dave Weinbaum Show to our great listeners, Pamela Tanner, last show of the year, probably the last clip of the year. I guess that's about it, right? I just want to thank everyone for all the great shows for 2022, and that's very kind of you. Hi to your husband. So that's Patrick. And I just, it's been a rough year. Let's face it. All these billionaires have lost an average of about $1 billion each. Maybe a little lower than that, but that's significant. Okay, so everybody's getting hurt. That's the only thing I can say. It's not fun to be hurt. I've been hurt. Everybody's been hurt. Let's try to reverse this, and I think Trump is the answer. You might have another objection to that, but I don't see what else is better out there yet. Anyways, you have a great New Year's, and we'll be back with another edition of the Dave Weinbaum Show next Friday.